welcome to the one and only Team Tszyu.
G'day guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, May the 11th, 2026. And as always, great to have you along for what should be a big night of discussing everything to do with boxing. If it is your first time here, exactly what it is there, it's Talking Boxing. Put your comment, question, remark, whatever it is, into the chat and we'll get the show underway. And also a special shout out to all the Spotify listeners as well that listen to this show in the days after this goes to air. Now, just quickly before we get into the show, I just wanted to just make mention of something, and I've just sort of been waiting for the right time, and it's probably been about 3 or 4 weeks, but a really integral part of the gym I trained at as a kid, well, right up to an adult, actually passed away about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've been, again, waiting for the right time to discuss it, but a gentleman by the name of Gary Connelly. Gary was an integral part of my team when I was fighting. Massive reason why I made the Olympic team after I went up in weight. I thought my career was over. I couldn't sort of cut it. Gary was instrumental in getting me on track as far as weight and conditioning and everything goes. And had a major reason why I was able to get in the right shape physically and mentally to challenge and ultimately go to Olympic Games in '96. Now, as I said, it was about a month ago that he actually passed away. He had a stroke. I've been trying to get hold of his brother Pat, who was my long-time coach growing up. Haven't been able to get hold of Pat. Obviously, he's got a lot going on in his life and everything else. But for what it's worth, I just wanted to reach out or not reach out, but just to send my condolences to Pat and his family. Gary and I didn't see eye to eye a lot. We butted heads constantly over the journey, but I'll always be indebted to him for what he did to me in my career and was such a massive, massive reason why I went to the Olympic Games. So, Vale, Gary Connelly, and again, my sympathy and condolences go out to Pat Connelly and the rest of the Connelly family. All right, let's get into it, guys. Now, just to get things rolling, there is a lot of comments in there already in the chat. So, normally I have my phone here, and it's in order on my phone for some reason as I watch the live feed, but there's too many comments there, so I'm not even going to try and go through it. I'll end up taking a minute just to find everyone's comments. So these first few comments are going to be way out of order. I apologize in advance. I apologize if I've gone forward and have to go back, but it is what it is. There's a lot of you in there at the moment. I appreciate it, but for some reason, this algorithm or whatever it is on YouTube, the first, as soon as I come on, whatever comments are in there are in order, but when they come up on here, they're all over the place. So I'll do my best to scour through them, but too many on there, I won't bother. Actually, I'm hoping they're all on there. I'm going to try and find them. Oh, hang on, that's the audio. I think. Yeah, no, okay. I'm just checking that all the comments are actually there. I think they are. Hopefully they are. Anyway, all right. Looks like poor old Big J's in the firing line tonight. Big J, I'll get to you in a sec, mate. All right, where are we? Okay, I'll start with Big J. This is not in order again. All right. Wonder if Zuffa acquires Shakur Stevenson. Hang on, I better put your comment on the screen there. Wonder if Zuffa acquires Stevenson. What exactly are they going to do with him? 135 or 147? Hitchens would be a great fight, but bar that, who exactly are they going to put him up against? Good question, Big J. Yeah, well, he's a 140-pound fighter. I did see this, and it looks like Stevenson and Devin Haney look like they might go to Zuffa, as well as Teofimo Lopez. Lopez has gone up to 147. Haney's obviously up at 147 now. He's got a WBA belt. Now, Stevenson, by all accounts, and you can probably see it, isn't or wouldn't be the biggest 147-pound fighter. So he's probably got to make the decision of whether it goes back to 135 or goes up to 147. The thing is, at 135, there's a couple of good fights there for him. Probably the obvious ones are Tank Davis and Raymond Muratalia. They're probably the main ones. Just looking at the champions at the moment. Where is it? So Raymond Muratalia, Tank Davis, Jadia Herrera is the interim champion, and of course Abdullah Mason. I forgot about Abdullah Mason. Not a lot there apart from those two, Muratalia and Davis. At 140, I suppose he's got Dalton Smith and Gary Russell. Do they really excite him? But geez, at 147, wow. Roller Ramiro, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Conor Benn, maybe Liam Paro in the mix, or Lewis Crocker, whoever it might be. Some very good names. Maybe Manny Pacquiao at 147. So some very, very good fighters up there. So maybe he looks at 147. So he's in a real conundrum, isn't he, Big J? In that he's too small really at 147, but that's where the big money fights are, or he has to try and kill himself to get down to 135 and fight guys who make the weight pretty comfortably. So yeah, it's a good question, Big J. But especially if he goes to 147, to have Lopez and Haney up there, and Conor Benn, of course, and potentially Ryan Garcia. That looks like it's going to be the logical place for him. But is he big enough to actually compete? We'll see. All right, Tony, how are you there, mate? TalkSport Boxing in England interviewed Ben Shalom, and he confirmed that Eubank fight September, but would not say opponent. The panel all agreed Michael Zarafa. Amazing to think it might happen. Yeah, look, the thing is, Tony, I've had my say around the fight, and I've been pretty adamant that the fight won't happen in Australia. That's my prediction. I think the fight's a good one for Michael, and I think it can happen. I just, again, don't see how it can possibly be funded here in Australia. In England, no drama. So I've just got a feeling, even though there might be talks going back and forth, and there might be a lot of excitement from Michael and his camp and his fans and everything else about maybe getting the fight here in Australia, I just think in the end, they'll end up in England. And again, the reason I say it is it simply just comes down to economics. And it's one thing to, for Team Eubank, excuse me, to say they want to come to Australia and they want a big fight here and want a stadium fight and all the rest of it. At the end of the day, that's great in theory. It's great to talk about. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty and actually crunching the numbers, this fight just cannot happen unless, or probably Zarafa fights for nothing and Eubank fights for peanuts as well. And again, this is a guy who said he's only interested in the biggest fights. Don't know why he would see Michael Zarafa as one of the biggest fights for him. Staggers me. Maybe they just see what's happening here in Australia. They see the interest in the zoos and Jai Opetaia and Liam Paro and all the rest of them. Some big events sort of happening here in our Zuffa and Matchroom and all that are coming here as well. Maybe they see it, maybe the potential there. But I think when they actually do the homework and crunch those numbers, I just don't see how it happens here, Tony. Again, I hope it does happen for Michael and whatever happens after that. But, I mean, again, doing the sums, you'd think that Chris Eubank Jr. is probably going to want at least $2 or $3 million, you would think. And Michael Zarafa, of course, has got to get paid. And the whole rest of the event, I mean, how do you generate $3 or $4 million? I don't think pay-per-views sell. They would sell some, but not a lot. Maybe back to England, I suppose. I don't think they get government funding, or if they do, it's barely anything. So I don't see how it happens, Tony, but I'm hoping that he does actually get the fight. I just don't think it happens here in Australia, mate, but we'll see. All right, Big J. Trivia. I just discovered that the character that Antonio Tarver played in Rocky VI, Mason the Lion Dixon, is in reference to the Mason-Dixon line between the North and South during the Civil War. Yes, that is correct, Big J. I've been a bit of a student of the Civil War, and if you follow this channel, you would have seen that I was in Gettysburg. Was it last year, I think it was, or the year before? I think it was last year, when I went over to Gettysburg for a few days and just happened to stay in the most haunted hotel in Gettysburg, and on the top floor. I think it was called what was it called? Something in it was called. I can't remember, but apparently it's one of them, or the most haunted hotels in Gettysburg, and I stayed there by myself up in the attic. I didn't know that, by the way, or else I would never have stayed there. But doing a little bit of research before I went there, Big J, I did know that. But if you didn't know that, there you go. Mason the Lion Dixon is in reference to North and South during the Civil War. All right, Asbot. Hi, all. Yep, the protest against Nikita is going nowhere. If the late hits change the direction of the fight, then maybe they'd have a point, but the Spaniard was done by that stage. Yeah, I did talk about this morning, Asbot, and if you didn't see it, the Diaz camp have apparently launched a protest or some sort of investigation into what happened. I don't think it goes anywhere. I think the WBO would look at it and obviously have a look at it. And I think it's pretty obvious to see that Nikita didn't deliberately try and cloud him, I suppose. Yeah, there was a couple of love taps there, but I think what happened, as I said in my videos, I think the fact he was standing over Oscar Diaz, remember his gloves didn't hit the floor, his knee did, but with Nikita where he was positioned, standing over Oscar Diaz, there's no way he would have been able to see his knee on the floor, I would think. So I think the WBO would look at it and go, okay, we've done our investigation, nothing to see here. Don't forget, Nikita's a hometown fighter, was dominating the fight. The officials, or the cornermen of Oscar Diaz on the night, while they were upset and jumped on the ring, afterwards didn't really protest a lot about it. I think they knew. They actually pulled him out after the 6th round. So, look, I think the WBO will have a look at it. But, I mean, they're talking about a guy who was dominating the fight and was going to stop Diaz at some stage. And I think camp, or the Tszyu camp, would have enough evidence to say, well, how was he supposed to see that his knee's on the ground? And they weren't malicious punches. They were a couple of little taps. Now, I've got a feeling that he maybe had an inclination that he was sort of down, but, I mean, they were little taps, weren't they? So, where is he at the moment? Nikita is actually ranked with the WBO at the moment, number 9. Now, I'm just looking at May 1 was when it was updated. So it was actually before his fight with Diaz. So who knows, maybe he will be a lot higher now. So if he was number 9 then, I've got to feel, well, Tim's actually number 3 at the WBO as well at 154. So you'd think that Nikita will go up significantly based on that, because Oscar Diaz was ranked number 15. I don't know how, but there you go. Shadow Boxer. I think Jai is WBO mandatory for Cruiserweight now, even as a Zuffa Reno. Yes, I think so too. Let's have a quick look at the ratings. He is ranked at Cruiserweight. Yeah, okay. Well, as of May 1, Shadow Boxer, he's not ranked at all. Is Jai Opetaia. He's ranked. This is again, so I'm just looking at the rankings here. So IBF is May the 8th, so only a few days ago. WBA and WBO were the 1st of May, and the WBC is May the 6th, so nearly a week ago. So the current rankings has Jai Opetaia, number 1 is vacant, by the way, but he's the 3rd highest ranked contender. Jai with the WBA, surprise, surprise, is not ranked. They just don't seem to rank Aussie fighters at WBA, but then he's ranked number 3 with the WBC. So 3 with both the IBF and WBC at the moment, and not ranked with the WBO. But again, who knows when the next rankings come out where he'll be. But I don't get this with the Zuffa thing, Shadow Boxer. I mean, it's a little bit weird. I suppose it does make sense. I'm just probably talking more about the IBF. Yeah, they strip him for being, well, I was just going to say they stripped him for being with Zuffa, but they didn't, did they? They stripped him because he didn't go through the proper channels, and it wasn't, well, there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors as far as his defense goes. I think the IBF were told that it was a trophy belt, the Zuffa belt that is, and then they promoted it as being for the actual Zuffa belt. So they pulled the sanction of it. So I suppose technically, even though they pulled the sanction from the fight and stripped Jai of the title, doesn't probably preclude him from being ranked, I suppose, does it? It just means he can't, well, can he fight for the belt? Oh, it's all confusing for me. But it just seems odd that they rank him so high after stripping the guy of his belt. Doesn't make sense. And then the WBC. Now, is this a sign of them ranking Jai Opetaia at number 3, that they're pretty cool with the whole situation? Who knows? I suppose we're not going to know until we get to the same situation with a Conor Benn maybe coming up against a Ryan Garcia. Maybe, who else is there? Maybe Devin Haney goes and or Richardson Hitchens. They both go, or both are. Well, hang on. Hitchinson's with the Zuffa, but Haney's talking about it. Let's say they're both with Zuffa and they both go to defend the belts. We're not going to really know what's happening until they're in the same situation and they put the Zuffa belt up. So, speaking of Zuffa, the card today I thought was really good. The two prelim fights were okay. The record suggested they were going to be absolutely barn burners, but they were good, solid fights. But the main event, congratulations to Shane Mosley Jr. To me, Sergey Bohachuk looked pretty washed to me, but hey, you know, he gave Virgil Ortiz a hell of a fight. Was it a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, whatever it was? Solid fighter. It just looks like he's been in a few wars, I would think. Sergey Bohachuk. But a great win by Shane Mosley, and all of a sudden he's going to be in the title picture, whether I suppose it's going to be for the Zuffa belt. I am a little surprised, by the way, why they didn't actually make today's fight for the Zuffa belt. Now, they made Jai Opetaia's fight for the Zuffa belt. Why wouldn't they? I mean, they've got to start somewhere. What are they waiting for to get this ball rolling? Now, Shane Mosley Jr., I think, is ranked by most of the organisations. Is that right? Hang on, I'll just have a quick... Oh, he did lose his last fight, didn't he? Well, Bohachuk was number 5 with the WBO. This is at middleweight. I don't see Shane Mosley Jr. in there. I actually think Shane Mosley Jr. would be a fantastic fight for Michael Zarafa if the Chris Eubank fight doesn't happen. I think that would be a perfect fight for him. He might go to Zuffa, who knows? But no, he's not. Oh, there he is. Sorry, he's number 7 with the WBA. He's Shane Mosley. So he is ranked in one of the other organisations. So I'm just surprised. Bohachuk's obviously got a record. He's been a former WBC interim champion. I would have thought they would have just put the belt up as a starting point and why they went. But I don't know. They've I just don't know why they would sanction Jai versus Glanton and not sanction Mosley versus Bohachuk for their belt. But anyway. All right. I gave him $1. How did Wardley stay on his feet like that for so long? And is the punishment he's taken in recent wins catching up with him? It should have been stopped earlier, I think. Yeah, I did think that, mate. I again spoke about this yesterday and again today. I think that the corner for me, I mean, a lot of people have different points of view. I think the corner probably have a little bit to answer for. I know the referee is in charge and he's going to bear a lot of the brunt as well, but he was in contact with or communication with the doctor, and he's in the corner, and you know, he was trying to give Fabio Wardley as much chance, I suppose, or opportunity that he could to get back in the fight. Wardley was punching back. I just think, I know the referee does have a duty of care as well, but I just would have thought his corner would have seen that he was really battling and pulled him out. The doctor let him go. The corner know him obviously better than anyone. I just think the punishment he was taking, it was obvious he wasn't going to win the fight. He was exhausted after about 5 or 6 rounds, was really taking a lot of punishment. I suppose to answer your question there, mate, yes, it should have been stopped earlier. I've got a feeling that in between the 10th and 11th rounds, the referees had a word to the corner and told them, look, if he doesn't produce something, I'm going to stop the fight. And I mean, what was it, 15, 20 seconds into the 11th round, he stepped in and stopped the fight. So I think the referee gave him as much opportunity as possible and probably thought, well, if the corner aren't going to save him, I've got to jump in. So it's a tough one. I know maybe everyone's got reasons to be held responsible. Not so much the doctor. I don't think the doctor's really there to say, hey, you know, this guy's had too much. He's really there, obviously, if there's an injury, a cut, whatever it might be, to give his assessment and obviously to check the fighters out before and after the fights. But I think when the fight's actually underway, I think it's up to the referee and the corner. And both, as I said, could wear some sort of a lot of the responsibility. But if I had to sort of put the blame on one over the other, I'd probably say in the corner. I mean, they're in the corner with him between rounds every single round. The referee's obviously watching the fight. He's got both fighters to look at, fair bit to take in. He's only looking for the more obvious things like, you know, knockdowns and someone being really staggered and wobbled, whereas the corner are actually seeing him in between rounds and just seeing, you know, can he speak properly? Is he coherent? Is he really fatigued? They're seeing all that. That's probably why I think they probably deserve the fair brunt of it there, mate. But yeah, I think it should have been stopped earlier for sure. All right, Big Joe. Excellent fight between Dubois and Wardley. Dubois showed not only guts and determination, but ring IQ, but taking a knee for the second knockdown, allowing the pace to change. Classic boxer versus puncher. Yeah, well, he got knocked down with pretty much the first punch of the fight, didn't he, Big J? I didn't really know what to think then. I just thought, well, geez, is it going to be one of those one round sort of blowouts? But I was really impressed with Dubois. I really was. I mean, this is a guy that's been really under the pump as far as his performances go in a lot of the fights. I think maybe a little unfairly. He's always turned up the fight, always given it his all. His heart's sort of been questioned a few times, but I think in this fight, I think he put those sort of accusations to bed, and I thought he was great. He could have easily went into his shell, easily backed up and allowed Wardley to come after him. But in response, he got close. He kept it, just shortened the range, so Wardley really couldn't sort of get the leverage that he was after, and just really made Wardley fight for 3 minutes of every round. And I think that was, I don't know whether it was by accident or not. I said this in my video this morning. Don't know if it was by accident, but to make Wardley just put the pressure on him all the time and make him compete and fight for 3 minutes of every round, it was a great tactic, if it was a tactic, for the inexperienced Wardley, who has struggled in other fights. Even those fights with Huni and Parker that he won, he did for gas and fatigue in that fight, or those fights as well. So I thought it was a great tactic, and it worked to the point where Wardley was pretty much just pretty much a punching bag for the last 3 rounds, wasn't he? But Dubois did show a lot of guts and determination, like you said, and even more IQ as well, mate. And that just comes from experience. And I thought he did a hell of a job, Daniel Dubois. Where's he go from here? Who knows? Again, I said on my video this morning, does he target Usyk number 3, or does he have to wait behind Fury and Joshua, who also want number 3? Does he go to Moses Otama? Does he go for the rematch? Lots of fights there for Daniel Dubois. I wouldn't mind seeing down the track, depending on how it all pans out, but Dubois maybe fighting Tyson Fury. I reckon that'd be a ripper fight, or Moses Otama. Now, it looks like Fury, though, will go obviously the Joshua, then possibly the Usyk route. That's what he wants. So maybe it could be more the Otama side of the coin, but he's got some real good opportunities out there, Dubois, and I really like the fact that he hasn't just put all his eggs in the Usyk basket. He's like, his dad was interviewed after the fight and said, no, we're not going to wait around for Usyk. We're going to do our own thing. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, well, we've got plenty of other options. Everyone wants a shot at the belt. I mean, at the moment, so what's he got? The WBO belt. So he's got Moses Otama as number 1. He's already taken care of Hrgovic. Joshua's number 4. Zhilei Zhang, I doubt it'd be him. Big Baby Miller. Maybe Deontay Wilder could enter the equation as well. So he's got some really good fights here. If you think that Wilder, Fury, Otama, there's 3, and the rematch with Wardley, 4 massive fights that he's got going on the side that he doesn't have to sit around and wait for Usyk to look in his direction. So, and would the boxing public buy Dubois Usyk 3? I'm not sure. I think they'd be more inclined to go for Fury Usyk 3 rather than Dubois Usyk 3, but we'll see. All right, Big J again. Just to be clear, Opetaia's only threat at Cruiserweight is Benavidez. He clears out the rest of the division easy. Yes. So who are the other fighters in the division, Big J? Not many. Fidel Riley and Chris Billum Smith will probably fight for the IBF belt. Who cares? Ryan Raziki, not so big on him. Yeah, that's probably about it. Yep, that's about it there, Big J. I think at Cruiserweight, if David Benavidez decides to stay there, and I think I've got a feeling if the Bivol or Beterbiev fight, mainly the Bivol fight, because I'm not sure where Beterbiev's at the moment, but I've got a feeling if the Bivol fight doesn't happen and maybe Bivol prices himself out or the money can't be generated, although you would think that if Turkey wants the fight to happen, he'll find the money, of course. He'll just check his glove box and his Rolls Royce, and I'm sure he'll find the money there. But if he doesn't, or that fight doesn't come off with Bivol, I don't think Usyk's in the equation right now, by the way. I think there's far too much happening at heavyweight for him to look in Benavidez' direction. He's only got, 3 fights left. I think if the Bivol fight doesn't happen, Benavidez will stay at Cruiserweight, and there is only one fight at Cruiserweight that makes sense for him, and that's Jai Opetaia. Or does it make sense for him? No titles on the line apart from, he's got his WBA and WBO. Does he want to give Jai Opetaia the satisfaction of fighting for his belts? He doesn't want the Zuffa belt. And how does that implicate the WBA and WBO belts. A lot of things that have to be sorted out. But if he stays at cruiserweight, there's only one fight that has any appeal whatsoever, and that is Jai Opetaia. Massive, massive fight. And I'll say it again, I think it's the best fight to be made in boxing, bar none. And that includes Bam against Inoue. I would much rather see Opetaia and David Benavidez. Just the same mentality, the same sort of frame of mind. They're cut from the same cloth, I suppose you would say. They're just brutes. They love the fight. They're just mean guys when they fight. That is outside the ring, they're the opposite. But yeah, I just think that is the best fight in boxing, if you ask me. Ado, what do you got there, mate? What are your views on Wardley being allowed to continue for as long as he did against Dubois? I think it was borderline criminal. Yeah, I just answered that, Ado. Sorry, it's probably out of order there. But yeah, no, you're right. I did say, mate, I think it was too long before they stopped it. And again, lots of people probably to blame for that. But, Barry McGuigan commented after the fight and said that he thinks maybe Wardley will never be the same. Well, that will only sort of be, I suppose, evident as as he continues on. But yeah, I was concerned after about the 9th round there, 8-0, that how much punishment he was taking. There was no way he was going to win the fight. It was purely heart that had him hanging in there. He obviously, did he have the broken nose? It was definitely blooded. I think he did. He was cut. Spent some time in hospital after the fight. Yeah, not good. As I said, there's no way he was going to win the fight. I'll maintain that the corner should have pulled him out much earlier. They would have known. I know it's good to have faith in your fighter, and I know he's shown them a return on that faith in the past, but this was different. There was no way Daniel Dubois was going down. He was on a mission, and Wardley just had nothing left. So, yeah, a little bit too long there, mate. All right, where are we there? Okay. Asbop, does anyone know the details of Jai's contract with Zuffa? Like how much it's worth? Is there any chance he can be released from it? Just can't see things improving for him. Bro's career is stalled. Yeah, it certainly looks that way at the moment, Asbop. And can you imagine Jai Opetaia at the moment? I know he's sort of been doing the social media rounds and putting his thoughts up, and he's been interviewed by a few different people, but the frustration that he would have knowing that he's got no bargaining chips. This is what would be frustrating. When he had the IBF belt, he had a massive bargaining chip. Benavidez would, most likely want to unify. Could have unified. Well, Jai could have fought Michelanian if Benavidez wanted to go down and fight Bivol. Then Jai could have fought Michelanian, unified those two belts, and then they could have fought for the unified belts. That's leverage. That's that's a lot of leverage to make that fight happen for Jai. But now he's just another contender, and the fact that he's with Zuffa is just muddied the waters completely. Where Benavidez, again, he's not, even if he wanted the fight, he's got to be wondering, well, can I fight him? Can I not fight him? Are my titles at stake? Are they not at stake? Do I really want that? Do I really want to give this guy a shot at my titles and he hasn't got a belt? Look, I might be proven wrong as time goes on, but I'm just looking at this in hindsight, thinking, what were they thinking? Just jumping ship. I know, look, maybe they didn't know or had no inkling when they jumped ship to Zuffa that David Benavidez was looking at Cruiserweight, because Jai said all along he wants the right dance partners. He wants the big guys in the sport. And David Benavidez now is one of probably the biggest 5 or 6 names in the sport. So maybe if he had known then what he knows now, maybe he wouldn't have jumped. Maybe he would have kept his IBF belt. He would have fought the Chris Billum Smiths and Vidal Rileys of the world and just hung in there, and then, or the Michelanian fight, and then waited for Benavidez for that fight to happen. Because now Benavidez has got all the bargaining power. He doesn't need to fight Jai. And he's got all the reasons, whether it's a business decision or he just doesn't want to fight Jai. He's got every reason now to say, no, well, why would I fight Jai Opetaia? He's got no belt. He's not really, he's with Zuffa. He's got no really appeal over here. He's got every reason now. We can all jump up and down about it. We can all call him a duck and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, he's got every reason to say, why would I fight Jai Opetaia? He's got no belt. He's got nothing to offer. He's with that other mob. I don't want anything to do with Zuffa. So the fight's not happening. I think Jai has given him every reason and excuse that he needed. Not that I think he's ducking Jai, by the way. I think it's just a business decision at the moment. But if he did need a reason, well, Jai's given him every reason to to not fight Jai. So I don't know what Jai and Mick Francis Knight are thinking at the moment. Maybe, they'll obviously stick fat, as they say. But to answer your question, sorry, I've rambled on there and haven't even answered your question there. I don't know the details of Jai's contract. I've heard that it might be 3 years. If it is, that's 3 long years of your career. He'll be 33, will he? 33, 34 by the time it's over. Now, Benavidez can easily just say, I don't want to fight him. Can easily target the heavyweights. He can fight Michelanian. He can fight Chris Billam-Smith or Vidal Riley. He's got a lot of options now. He doesn't need to really do anything. He doesn't need to fight Jai, and as frustrating as it is, geez, imagine being Jai Opetaia. I think, geez, I'm stuck here. I can't do anything about it. What happens going forward? I don't know. Look, time will tell. But at the moment, you couldn't blame Jai for sitting back going, what have I done? Proof will be in the pudding going forward, though, I suppose. All right, Drew with Jai. Oh, there you go. With Jai all tied up with Zuffa for the next 3 painful years, he would have been a legitimate chance at getting Benavidez in the ring if Benavidez wins the likely fight with Bivol. Yep, well, exactly. He would have at least been in the mix, Drew. I think that Benavidez would have had his whiteboard, and I think the first choice would have been Dimitri Bivol. Maybe Benavidez next. I know Canelo's be up there, but there's no way that fight's ever going to happen now. But he would have Bivol at the top, then maybe Benavidez, and then who knows, he might have an asterisk with Usyk if Usyk suddenly said, well, all right, well, I'll fight this guy. He's a very marketable guy and a lot of fans out there, and the fans want it. Well, maybe I'll look to give him a chance as well. But you would think that Jai Opetaia would have been after that. But now he just scrubbed Jai right off the board, and there's nothing Jai can do about it. That's the frustrating thing. So, but I'm with you. As I just said, like, if he had had that belt and not been with Zuffa, 100% he would be on the whiteboard, and he'd be, as the opportunities sort of fell away, he'd be crossing him off, and he'd get to Jai and say, all right, no big fight out there, Jai, let's go. So, I don't know. I feel for Jai. I feel for us fans, because if we miss out on this fight, I'll be pissed. Drew, I'm not a believer in Zuffa at all. Dana is too invested in the UFC to do a proper job with Zuffa. Yes, certain stars will get some big money fights, but most of the fighters are very average. Yeah, well, I thought, again, with the card today, Drew, that on paper, the fights looked really good, but when they actually got underway, I must admit, I found myself sort of scrolling on my phone, sort of jumping on the computer and sort of looking at, back at what was going on, especially the second fight. Who was it? Was it Rodriguez and whoever it was? Pretty average fight. Both good records. I see what the Zuffa guys are trying to do, but I must admit, for me, I'm struggling to get excited about Zuffa. I really am. I said this morning on the video that it's just too bland at the moment. It's just too black, white, and greyish, if that makes sense. There's no colour to what they're trying to do, and it just falls a bit flat. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know your thoughts. But for me at the moment, there's a whole Zuffa thing is doing nothing. When I saw the fights, I was like, oh, of course I'm going to watch it. I'm on my computer at home on a Monday. Of course I'm going to put it on and watch it. But I wasn't like excited for it. I wasn't, like, look at what these guys are doing. It's no different to a pro box show. It's exactly the same. Probably smaller than a pro box show. And I know Dana talks it up, and who knows, maybe down the track it will be just as big as the UFC, a boxing version. But I'm telling you, at the moment, I just can't see it. I just don't see boxing fans jumping on, like the UFC fans. The UFC fans are rabid about what they do. Boxing fans are just a different breed. I don't think boxing fans really get too excited by that type of model. I think they've all grown up. Maybe it'll change down the track, but we've all grown up with the boxing model, and it's not perfect. Far from it. We know that. But I just think people almost have gotten used to it, and they like the system in place. I know there's a lot of things we don't like about it, but I would much prefer the way boxing is to what they're trying to do with the Zuffa thing. I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority. I just don't have a good feel about Zuffa, and I'm just not excited by it at all. At all. And maybe it's got to do with them having to wear the stupid plain trunks, and it's all, there's no imagination to it. Maybe it might change when they get out into the big arenas. Maybe they've got big plans for that. I don't know. But at the moment, as I said, it's no different to a pro box show. I actually will go out on a limb and say I think the pro box shows are actually better than the Zuffa show. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. But for me so far, very, very average, if you ask me. What have they done? 6 shows now. Maybe after another 10 or 12 shows, maybe it might be different. But at the moment, I have not one bit of excitement about Zuffa at all. Which is probably why I'm thinking what they should have done in all these early shows, even if the belt's only in its infancy, just get people fighting for the belt. Like today's fight, make it for the 160-pound Zuffa belt. Let's get the show going here. Putting on quote-unquote world title fights. Let's go. Let's put on the Zuffa Championship to get a bit of momentum. I mean, they're just average fights. Anyway, I'll move on. I'll be here all night. But for me, I'll say it again, I'm just not into the whole thing at the moment. All right, still with Drew. Turkey has expressed a desire for Usyk versus Benavidez, and while I don't think this fight will happen, and although Usyk would be the rightful favourite, I would give David a legitimate chance at the upset. I would too, Drew. I'd give him a great chance to beat Usyk. Usyk's not a big heavyweight, remember. He's probably more David's size when you think about it. I know he bulks himself up. David doesn't need to weigh in at 230, 240 pounds. He could weigh in about maybe 210, 215, and probably still be no different to what he was when he fought last weekend at, what was that, 195, whatever he weighed. So he's going to match Usyk for speed and everything else, work rate and everything. I think it's a legitimate fight as well, and I think he has a chance to beat Usyk. I've got a feeling it won't happen. I think David's got a few bits and pieces he's got a few options, obviously, but Usyk's got even more. And I just think David, he got 3 fights left, Usyk? I just think David might be about number 4 or 5 on the priority list, I would think, at this stage. But you never know. You never know. I'm sure they'll make enough noise about it, but I just think with what's going on at the heavyweights at the moment, we've got this Verhoeven, you got obviously Fury and Joshua, you got potentially Dubois, you got Otama, you've got all these, maybe Wilder comes back into the equation. I just don't see Benavidez or Usyk being around long enough that the Benavidez fight makes sense before he retires. Hang on. Have I jumped ahead here? What do you got there? Oh, mate, when did I ever say Huni? This is there, these comments being out of order. Did you say he was crap, Big J? It says here, when did I ever say Huni was crap? Weak chin, no power in punches, sure, but never crap. No, he's not a crap fighter, obviously, Big J. I've heard your assessment of Justice Huni. I don't necessarily agree with them all, but I respect what you're saying there. And I don't remember you saying he was crap, but I know you've doubted his chin and his power, that's for sure. All right, Drew. Dana wasn't smart at all with his business approach to Zuffa. He should have tried to solidify the Zuffa belt as a legitimate belt with the other organisations first, then done the takeover later. Yeah, it's a great point, Drew. I agree with you. 100% he should have. I just think, look, that's the way Dana White rolls. You've got to remember he's the main man in UFC, dominates MMA, dominates it in the next best organisation, sort of daylight away, isn't it, from the UFC, and he's always been number one. He's worked hard to be number one, by the way, but I just don't think he understood or understands boxing as well as what he thought he did, because I think coming in, I'm with you. He's probably the right business model would have been to say, here is the Zuffa thing. This is our goal, is to have a league or whatever that you might want to call it. You know, they ask him whether he's going to work in with the sanctioning bodies. We'll say yes. Yeah, at this stage, say yes, we are. You know, we wouldn't have had the Jai Opetaia situation, would we? He could have played it a lot different rather than getting up there and slagging off the sanctioning bodies, saying boxing's a joke, the people that run it are jokes, the promoters are jokes and their babies and everything else. Yeah, the exact wrong approach, Drew. But what else would you expect from Dana White? There's no grey area. It's black or it's white, and it's in your face. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. But I think in hindsight, if he knew then what he knows now, I've got no doubt that he would have went about it a different way. He would have maybe just mention, even if he had no intentions too long term, at least say for now we're going to work with the sanctioning bodies, other promoters. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. That's all he had to say. We'll see what happens. Preferably we're on our own, but if the right circumstance comes up, then we are open to working with other promoters. That's all he had to say. And then we wouldn't have all this fiasco where you've almost got a situation now where all the other promoters are banding together, and obviously with DAZN all going under there. So you've got all the promoters and a broadcaster all now fighting back and teaming up to come back at him and Paramount Plus and Netflix and whatever else he's going to do with Turkey and everything else. So it's going to be fascinating going forward. who actually wins the battle. But I just don't think he expected, and a lot of what he said was right, by the way, but I just don't think he expected what's happened now is where you've got rival promoters who used to be arch enemies now saying, you know what, we might not like each other and want to work with each other that much, but in the interest of what we're trying to do in our companies going forward for the long term, we've got no choice but to stick together at the moment. That includes Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya to work together, and they're a lot stronger together rather than trying to fight individually, and I think they know that. So I think Dana's got a fight on his hands, and I'll be honest again, I'm not sure that long term he's going to be able to get the desired result. I've got no doubt that they will succeed in having their standalone league. They'll succeed in having their own belt. They'll succeed in everything else. But I just think you're only going to have a certain percentage of fighters that are doing it under the Zuffa banner, and the rest of the boxing world are doing it somewhere else. So we're just going to have this massive divide down the middle. And I think at the end of the day, probably the only thing that suffers is the sport and us fans, because you're going to have just two separate entities going at it. So who knows, maybe once he gets a lot more, I suppose, in tune with boxing and experiences boxing a lot more, maybe he will then say, oh, I don't really want to, but if this thing's going to succeed, I'm going to have to work in with other promoters and sanctioning bodies. Because the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, they're not going anywhere. Oscar and Eddie, Frank and Bob might be going somewhere else, but Top Rank isn't. And now that they've solidified their standing by going with DAZN as well, DAZN doesn't want them to go either. So they're going to give them a lot of money to do the shows on the platform. So I think what will happen is that they'll have no choice but maybe to work in with them, and who knows. But I just don't think it's going to be the takeover that he thinks it's going to be, because as I said, those other promoters and sanctioning bodies and broadcasters aren't going anywhere, and if anything, they're now stronger than what they were. Isn't it ironic that Dana White, by doing what he's doing or has been doing, is now going to do going forward? He has been the reason why boxing suddenly got its shit together. Think about it. With all those other promoters, all with different networks and doing their own thing and refusing to work with each other and bad-mouthing each other and trying to trip each other up. Now, out of necessity, they've all banded together. So Dana White could possibly be responsible for actually making boxing stronger, but he won't be the one that's actually running the sport. And then who knows, maybe he'll go out of the picture and then the whole thing will fall apart again. Who knows? But fascinating sort of decade, or even 2 or 3 coming up, you'd probably think. All right. Right, Shadowboxer. I'm actually, this is about BJ. I'm actually pleasantly surprised to log in and not see you ragging on Huni since Wardley lost. Was expecting you to use that loss as a way to call Huni crap progress. Yes. All right, Richard. G'day, Claire. How you going there? What do you got there? Oh, this is about BJ. I'll let you guys sort that out in the chat. All right, I think that comment was first there from Richard. Hi, Lynden and team. Wardley versus Dubois was a slugfest. I'm a fan of Wardley, but needs to stop using his head to block punches. Fair play to both. The Brits are so good at making an event. Great crowd. Yeah, it was an awesome atmosphere, wasn't it? They always, and not just the crowd, but the commentators are so good at really pumping it up. So when it starts, I mean, it's like when the bell rings, it's like a rush of adrenaline. And then that first knockdown, of course, just put everyone into a frenzy. Yeah, they do it better than anyone over there, Richard, in the UK. I'd love to get over there for a fight. I've said that a lot. But they are so good over there, the Brits. And I would love to be there live. And you can see the atmosphere and the pulsating adrenaline coming through the screen. Imagine what it'd be like to actually be there. I think you'd have to be pretty tolerant though, because I think there'd be a lot of pretty untidy people there if we get where I'm going as far as having a few beers during the day. I think what they do over there, they start very early. I think they do it with the soccer and everything as well. It's an all-day event, so by the time the actual game, or in this case the fight, starts, a lot of them have probably seen better days, probably ready for bed by that time, but you probably have to put up with that. But I mean, that's all part of the experience, isn't it? So I think it'll be great. I lived through the Marquez knockout of Pacquiao with 15,000 screaming Mexican fans and raining beer and pretzels and popcorn and everything else. So I think I'd survive the Brits over there. Richard, either way, hope Zuffa stay long-term as it's more opportunities Oh, hang on. We'll go back. I think that comment was first. Also agree that Zuffa is the same presentation of UFC. Basic style trunks and colours, etc. Looks like a video game. Yeah, you're right, mate. When they do the fight posters, it actually looks like the cover of a PlayStation game or something, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a good call, that. Look, maybe that's why I'm struggling to sort of get my head around. I mean, I'm very much old school. I like the old fight posters and the colour and the razzmatazz and, getting a little bit imaginative with the graphic design, all that sort of stuff, and the name of the events. I mean, just calling it Zuffa 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and having the same generic poster over and over, it just gets a little tiring for me. And I just don't think if they go down the track of just marketing as just boxing's version of UFC, I just don't think it works. I really don't. And that's even with some of those big names there. Just me. I might be wrong. But even if they get Devin Haney and Conor Benn on a poster with one of those posters they do, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, I just want the organisation to maybe just allow everyone to have the whole thing to have a bit of flair and a bit of imagination. But I suppose we'll see. All right, either way, hope Zuffa stay long-term as it's more opportunities for fighters and events for boxing lovers. Yeah, that's the thing, Richard. Even though I'm not a fan of it, at the end of the day, as I said, like to sit down on a Monday, sort of doing some work and to have on the computer the not the computer, the TV sort of going at the same time, having on Paramount Plus having a Zuffa boxing show, that was great. But look, as I said though before, I'm not excited by it. I wasn't really counting down like I do with a lot of other cards as far as Zuffa's on today, let's go. Oh, well, boxing's on, I'll watch it. I don't think they've really reached that point with the fans yet. Again, maybe when they branch out into a proper arena, maybe things will change. But for now, again, just a little bit bland for me. All right, Ado, Zuffa card today. I think Bowerchuk's fighting style has finally caught up with him. His punch resistance not the same. Definitely on my no bet list moving forward. Yeah, he looked he just looked not himself, did he, Ado? I mean, Shane Mosley Jr., full credit to him. I mean, he fought a great fight. I thought at a couple of stages that Bowerchuk was starting to get on top of Shane Mosley. I was a little bit bewildered why Shane was sort of standing and trading with him. But he knew more than what we did, obviously. And I thought, even though Mosley was great, I thought Bowerchuk, he just didn't really have any pop in his punch. I know that typical sort of Russian style where it's just sort of march up and sort of club the guy. But, yeah, for me, he just didn't look himself. And those shots that put him down, I've seen him get hit with way better shots than that and not really flinch. So maybe you're right. Maybe that style was caught up with him, and maybe the punch resistance isn't there anymore. But not taking anything away from Shane Mosley Jr., who fought a great fight. Asbot didn't realise that Shane Mosley Jr. stopped Bowerchuk on the weekend. Yeah, so today wouldn't have predicted that big scalp from Junior. Yeah, I'm with you, Asbot. I really thought that Bowerchuk would be too strong for Shane Mosley. But it was a career-defining win for Mosley because he's probably going to be in line, well, I was going to say for a title shot. He'll probably be in line for the Zuffa title shot now. But yeah, look, I actually thought that Bowerchuk would be too much for Shane Mosley Jr. And he fought a fantastic fight and good on him for, as I say, they're getting a big scalp. All right, Big J. Did you hear that Hearn wants Huni to fight either Wilder, Chisora, or Miller? Eddie obviously wants a cash out on Huni contract before he goes to Zuffa. Yeah, well, there is talk about it, Big J. This is I'm surprised we haven't seen or heard it so far. I heard the rumblings about a month ago with a number of Aussie fighters that were about to be announced to go to Zuffa. So I don't know what they're waiting for, but actually one thing I think I can confirm it. I hope I can. I'll get asked sort of weekly what's happening with Cooper O'Connell. I think I'm allowed to say it because apparently it's out there somewhere, but I haven't seen Australian media report it, and that is that Cooper O'Connell was signed with Samson Lukovic, the promoter and manager of the Fundora, brother and sister, and David Benavidez. So I hope I haven't got anyone in the trouble there. I don't think anyone would care, but yeah, Cooper O'Connell is signed with Samson Lukovic. So I think it's a great move, to be honest. So I think he was just waiting to see how he went in his last fight. Of course, he got over the hump, Cooper that is, and now he's going to be with one of the most respected managers in the sport. So well done to Cooper. And Shannon, his mum, if you're watching, I wasn't supposed to say, sorry, but it is what it's got to be out there at some stage. She did tell me that apparently it's been announced over there, but obviously hasn't. Well, when I say announced, everyone sort of knows. Not like it was a massive announcement on social media that Cooper's signed with him, but it was released over there, and or he's been added to his stable. But as I said, Australian media, social media, whatever it is, the YouTubers, media, boxing, whoever it is, don't seem to give a shit about someone like Cooper. So there you go. I've just announced it. All right. There's D-Style in the chat. How are you there, mate? $2. Thank you very much, mate. What's good, Lyndon? All good from this, mate. And hope you're doing well over there in the States. All right. Lost my spot here. Where are we? Did I answer that question? Oh, okay. Yeah. Did I go past that? No, I don't think I did I? Sorry, I didn't answer your question there, Big J. So you hear that Hearn wants Huni to fight either Wilder, Chisora, or Miller. I did see that, Big J. I think he did that interview here in Australia, didn't he, with Noonan Boy? Eddie obviously wants to cash out on Huni contract before he goes to Zuffa. Yeah, sorry. Oh, that's what I was in the process of talking about, wasn't I? Yeah, the Zuffa thing. Yes. Let's just say he's in the mix, Big J. This is Justice Huni. I've got a feeling a lot of the Tasman boys might be in the mix. I can't confirm or deny a lot of them, but I think you'll probably find that Tasman is now obviously closely aligned with Zuffa, so don't be surprised if a lot of their fighters end up with Dana White, and there's a few others who aren't with Tasman fighters as well that are in the mix as well, but I won't say too much about that in case I've just got myself in trouble with Team O'Connell. But yeah, look, I don't know. I just think what it is, Big J, that Justice Huni falls in the category of Eddie Hearn where it's a little bit of sink or swim time. Eddie has been known just wanting to, not muck around too much with guys like Justice Huni. He did it with Liam Paro. Didn't really try and build him when Liam was a matchroom fighter. He beat Matthias in a massive upset. Eddie didn't really try and maneuver him and do anything, out of the ordinary with him. He just said, well, I'll just stick you in with Hitchens. If you beat him, then we'll talk. And obviously he lost the title in that fight. But I reckon Huni's in that same boat, Big J. I reckon Eddie's got Justice Huni now, and maybe he's only got a fight or two left, I think, hasn't he? That would be all right. Well, if you're going to leave us, I'm going to cash out, like you say there, and we'll fight a while. I don't think Chizora's in the mix. Would he be, Big J? That fight means nothing. Miller probably makes more sense to me. I doubt Deontay Wilder's going to want to fight Justice Huni. I think he's only got, he says he's going to fight for another 10 years, but I doubt it. But I think Wilder's got his eyes on a lot sort of bigger names than Justice Huni. But Big Baby Miller does make a lot of sense, mate. And if I had to put my money on any of those guys, it'd be Big Baby. All right, Drew. The big question is, will the WBO exclude Jai, a viable title shot, and wash the hands of him like the IBF did? Thanks to Meathead Dana, who said Zuffa was above working with the bodies. Yeah, it's a good call, Drew. Well, as I said, they've ranked him, it was. Yeah, he's ranked, or was it? That's Cruiserweight. No, sorry, he's not ranked with the WBO at the moment. All the WBA and David Benavidez has both. No, sorry, hang on, I'll take that back. Did I miss that? He's ranked. Geez, Lyndon, you idiot. He's ranked number 1 with the WBA. I said before he wasn't ranked. I'm sure someone's put it in the chat there. But yeah, he's ranked number 1 with the WBA. There you go. And technically number 4 with the IBF, 1 being vacant, and 3 with the WBC. Geez, pays to actually have a look. But he's 1 with the WBA, so maybe he would be in line. I don't know, Drew. Your guess is as good as mine, mate. I wouldn't have a clue. I've got a feeling that what they will say to Jai, and I'm not sure it'll pass the pub test, is they'll say to him, yeah, of course you can fight for our belt. You just can't fight for the Zuffa belt. You can't be on the line. You can have it if you want to put it in your trophy case and everything else. You can market yourself as a Zuffa champion, but when you fight, if you do happen to fight a David Benavidez or a Michelanian or whatever, you just cannot have that title on the line. So maybe that might be the way out of it. Maybe Dana says, well, all right, well, we're not going to strip you. We're not going to strip their own guy. He might just say, all right, well, if this is your way you want to do it, well, then we'll allow you to go. We won't put the Zuffa belt on the line. We'll allow him to fight someone like a David Benavidez. And as I said, like the sanctioning bodies might say, okay, well, as long as the Zuffa belt's not on the line, you can do whatever you want. Or if the battle lines are seriously being drawn, they might go, well, you're a Zuffa fighter. That's good enough for us. You cannot fight for our belt. But again, why would they rate him if that's the case? I think it probably says a lot with the ratings. If they were serious about maybe making a stand against Zuffa, they wouldn't even rate him or any of those other Zuffa fighters. So the fact they have rated him, maybe they're open to playing ball. I think obviously it comes down to whether Dana wants to play ball with them. I think he's going to have to at some stage. But we will see, Drew, when the next Jai Opetaia situation comes up where there's a champion who wants to fight for a Zuffa belt, then we will see and what the sanctioning bodies do. Again, I think the WBC will be the one, in my opinion, that will allow a Zuffa champion to fight the WBC champion. Just a hunch. They just seem a little bit more progressive than the others, especially obviously the IBF. So, again, we'll see. All right, sweet as. For those wondering, announcement coming tomorrow, Paro versus Crocker IBF welterweight title. There we go. Wednesday, 24th of June in Brisbane. Pat Rafter Arena. Liam Wilson, Dempsey McKean, Nelson Solomona on the undercard. Well, geez, mate, you're obviously in the know. Is it on social media somewhere? Give me a look. Noonan boy would have to be announcing it, wouldn't he? Surely. No. Nothing from Australian Boxing Central. There we go. Is it on main event? They normally break stories a little early as well. No, it's all UFC at the moment. There you go. All right, I'm just reading a little bit what I reported about. What Costa was saying about Tim's fight with Errol Spence. I'll read that later. All right, there you go. Well, that Sweet As has broken the news. I did know it was going to be late June, Sweet As, but I actually was told it was going to be in Townsville. So there you go. It's going to be in Brisbane. Great venue. I knew it was going to be somewhere in Queensland because obviously Liam's a Queenslander. But yeah, as I said, I thought it was going to be Townsville, but even better. Brisbane's a lot easier for everyone to get to. So great card. Liam Wilson, Dempsey McKean, Nelson Solomona on the undercard. Great stuff. All right, Drew, I really think Mick Francis and Jai did a terrible job at negotiating with Zuffa. Part of me believes they had the power to negotiate a 2-fight deal rather than 3 years with the new organisation. Yeah, that's a good call as well, Drew. I mean, we've seen Conor Benn sign for 1 fight. Did they sort of jump the gun and get a little bit too gung-ho about the whole thing and, just want to be the guys that signed with Zuffa for the start? Or maybe it didn't cross their mind that we don't want a long-term contract. Maybe Dana White said, here's a 3-year contract. Let's go. I can do this for you and that for you. And maybe they didn't think to say, well, we don't really want to lock ourselves in for 3 years because we don't really know what's going to happen with Zuffa and what's going ahead. So maybe we'll do a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal or maybe 2 fights, whatever it might be. Conor Benn did it. It can have a benefit as well, is that you're locked in for 3 years. So you're guaranteed 3 years of big fights and big paydays. That's another thing. They can't just let you go. The one that didn't make any sense to me, and I've said all along, is Conor Benn. I still don't get that, how you could sign a 1-fight deal for 15 mil. But anyway, we will see in the long run, Drew. At the moment, it's all hearsay. It's all big question marks all around. I don't know. The proof, again, will be in the pudding in 2 or 3 years' time, I suppose. Big J, is it true that Opetaia needs to defend his ring belt or lose it? I wasn't aware the ring was a sanctioned body. In reality, does it carry any real legitimacy? Your thoughts? No, I don't think they can lose it or be stripped of it, mate. You don't have to defend it, remember. It would be on the line if Jai fought David Benavidez. Although, having said that, Usyk's fighting Verhoeven and it's on the line. It's supposed to be, as you probably know, number 1 versus number 2 in the division, according to the ring. So 1 versus 2. And I would think at the moment, Opetaia would be 1 or the champ, or he's the champ. David Benavidez would be number 1. So if they fought, it'd be on the line. I don't think, no, there's no mandatories or whatever. There are obviously the rankings, but yeah, you don't have to defend it or whatever, or be stripped of it, I wouldn't have thought. I don't know many occasions where a ring champion has been stripped. I wouldn't have thought. Don't know. Because again, it's only reserved for the biggest fights in the division, and unless it's Opetaia versus Benavidez, it just doesn't, or it's not on the line. So, and then you're right, they're not a proper sanctioned body, but they have been our go-to. If you would have watched my videos in the last week or so, you would see that I've been pretty critical of the Ring magazine because they've allowed the Usyk and Verhoeven fight to be for the ring belt, which I think is ridiculous. And they've just announced they're going to invent a belt for the Fury and Joshua fight as well. The fight of Britain belt or some shit like that. So what do you expect though with Turki Al-Sheikh now owning the magazine and the belt? Maybe stand by for a few other weird and wonderful things that they bring up to try and have the Ring magazine at the forefront of all the big fights. So all right, Cal, what a fight! What a fight in the heavyweights with Daniel Dubois. So keen to see what Jeff can bring out in Tim Tszyu. Love Monday nights. Cheers, mate. No worries, Cal. Thanks for tuning in, mate. It was a hell of a fight with Wardley and Dubois. A little bit of stuff online with Jeff and Tim at the moment. You can see what they're sort of starting to do. I like the double up right hand. I really like that. You haven't seen some clips in the gym on the pads. You can sort of see it. It's just one right hand and then another harder right hand to follow it. I like it, and I'm really glad you like Monday nights, mate. Great to have you along. What have we got in there at the moment? 70 people watching, which is good stuff. Big J. Finally, the Storm got a win. Gave the West Tigers a good flogging, 44-16. I see Carlton at least gave the Lions a run for the money. Yeah, we did, mate. We just waited until we're 50 points down before we started to get rolling. Actually kicked 6 goals in a row at one stage. Normally it's the other way around. And we got to within, I think, 14 points or something about 5 minutes into the last quarter. But, yeah, it wasn't to be, mate. The Brisbane Lions, just they're the reigning champions for a reason. Good to see the Storm get a win. And I did see that the coach, Bellamy's been diagnosed with some condition, hasn't he? So hopefully he's okay. And don't write up the Storm, Big J. It doesn't look like we're going to be there this year, but they're a great organisation and we'll be back, mate. All right. Asbot, I know confidence/self-belief is vital, but is it me over-processing that Tim's sounding a bit cocky again against Errol? Yeah, I did think that myself, Asbot. Look, I'm hoping to sort of put it down to maybe Tim just getting a little bit worked up and excited about the prospect of fighting Errol Spence. And maybe, again, I also think he's maybe a little bit awkward around the cameras still. So I just think he says some things sometimes that, maybe can get construed as cocky. I do, and I hope I'm wrong, I do sort of see signs, if I'm being honest, of a little bit of the language that he used before the Murtazalia fight. Not so much the Fundora fight. The second one I'm talking about. First one, he obviously got caught up in the whole Las Vegas main event, T-Mobile Arena thing, all the rest of it. But the Murtazalia fight, I don't think he showed Murtazalia of anywhere near the respect that he deserves. Or deserved, and got what was coming to him, really. And is Errol Spence going to be the same? Look, he has given Errol Spence respect, I think. But, yeah, I'm with you that he does sound a little cocky. But I'm hoping we just put it down to the excitement of getting the fight signed. I don't know. We'll see again, mate, as we get closer. What is it, 3 months away? So we'll see. When is it? July. So 2 months away. Samuel Nixon, Zuffa card was good. Yeah, I thought it was okay, Sam. Again, I'm not arguing. Monday afternoon boxing or Monday morning boxing, it started at 11 a.m. Can't complain. I will never complain about it. But again, mate, I can't see what all the hoo-ha's about yet. So we'll see as the shows go. Do they really need to number them as well? I mean, are we going to get up to Zuffa 106 or something? Is this what we're going to get up to, where they do like the UFC, where it's been going on for about 20 years and they just keep doing these numbers? Are we going to have like Zuffa 377 or something? Yeah, I don't know. I just think what they should have done is have this. I know it means nothing. It's irrelevant, but maybe just call them Zuffa cards and then have the numbered ones for like the world title events. So the Jai one should have been maybe number 1, and these other cards are just, prelim cards, or not prelim cards, but just like they do with the UFC, the off-Broadway type of shows, and then they have the big ones. Today's fight card wasn't a big one, but it's a numbered one. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. But anyway. Thanks. Peter. Thank you. Was that Trump? Where are we? Team Batman boxing. The Eubank fight will definitely be in England if it happens. Yeah, that's what I thought. And Batman, I'm not sure whether you've you've commented. I want to hear all about the Inoue and Nakatani fight. How good was it? I'm a long way from the bottom of the chat here, guys, so forgive me. I'm sure you maybe mentioned down there, but let's hear about Inoue and Nakatani. Would have been fantastic to be there. All right. Furian Survivor. Dubois is so unpredictable. Superb against Wardley, but still hard to read. I've never agreed with the quitter label. He strikes me as complex, not weak. Yeah, I think so, Furian. Look, I must admit, I was maybe in the camp of maybe he lacks a bit of fortitude. Now, that's a bold statement against a professional fighter that puts in the work that he does and gets in there. I just had a feeling that, or gut feeling that if the going got tough, he might take the easy way out. But I'll tell you what, I'll happily eat my words. I was so impressed with him yesterday. 2 knockdowns early, never backtracked, never strayed away from the game plan, just bit down the mouthpiece and just said, let's go, and just outfought and just broke down Wardley as the fight went on. So, yeah, a lot more respect for him, mate. And let's all give him the credit he deserves. I'm not sure. What do you, Trumpy? I don't know what the hell you're going on about, but I'll look at your comments as we go. Not quite sure what you're going on about there, but hopefully you're behaving yourself there. All right. Where are we? Sorry, guys. I just lost my way there. All right. Batman. Bolchuk has been done since that Virgil fight. Yeah, and he was really unlucky in that fight, Batman. Look, I think Virgil Ortiz won. I thought he did enough. I really did. I thought it was close. I had him winning 7 rounds to 5, so I didn't really subscribe to Bolchuk getting ripped off in that fight. And again, like I've always said, it's not a rip-off if you lose a close fight. It is what it is. Everyone's been there that's been in the ring. But yeah, you're right. He hasn't looked the same, has he, since that fight? Maybe Virgil Ortiz does that to people where, he beats the soul out of them. I don't know. But some fighters like Virgil Ortiz have a habit of doing that, where they give you such a tough fight that you're just not the same afterwards. And maybe Bolchuk sort of falls into that category. But definitely not the same fighter, mate, because I think the Bolchuk to beat sort of a Brian Mendoza and fought Virgil Ortiz, I don't think would have had too many problems with Shane Mosley Jr. But having said that, maybe I'm being a little bit disrespectful to Shane Mosley, who's worked hard, improved a lot. But and full credit to Shane, by the way. And I've said on here, we spent some time with him in Vegas last year when we went over there with Cooper and Shannon O'Connell, and class guy, and working really hard to try and get up the boxing ladder and try and break out of the shadow of his dad. So, yeah, good on him and fantastic job. Ado, Mosley Jr. would knock Zarafa out in a round or 2. No, I don't subscribe to that, Ado. I mean, I've seen him up close, obviously watched him today. No, I don't think so. I think he beats Zarafa. Not sure he'd knock him out in 1 or 2 rounds. Who knows? He might get him a little bit later. He can look really good, Shane, but on other occasions he can look really bad. Maybe a little bit like Zarafa. And that's why I think it'd be a really good fight. I think I'd back Mosley Jr. to beat him. Let's not forget, though, that Shane Mosley came out to Australia on the, 2017, on the Pacquiao Horn card and lost to David Toussaint, who had to retire, I think, through injuries or something. I mean, that's, 9 years ago. So only, what would he have been? Late 20s, I suppose, 27, 28, 26 maybe. So obviously he's worked hard to get back where he is, but I think he'd beat Michael. I don't think it'd be an easy knockout. I think Michael would give him a good fight. Yeah, James. So this is the Wardley and Dubois fight. The doctor should have stopped the first time he went over. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So maybe everyone's got to take a little bit of responsibility. All right, Big J. I see that Mundine got a gift decision due to being a nostalgia baby against the G-Banger. Yes. We haven't had a show since then. Well, that was last Wednesday, wasn't it? There you go. Well, we haven't heard anything about that. Terrible decision. Mundine could barely stand after the fight. Ref for the Bowen versus Tonga fight has a lot to answer. Yeah, I'm with you there, Big J. Aren't they called Nepo babies or something? Or what is it? What do you got there? Nostalgia baby? I thought they were Nepo babies. Whatever. the son of a legend. Oh, look, I'm with you. Look, I thought it was close. I thought it was close, and I'm with you. Maybe the G-banger just got over the line, but mate, come on. You've been around, I'm sure you've been following boxing long enough to know if it's a close fight, it's going one way. That's why after the fight, I went, geez, G-banger's done pretty good here. I reckon he might have got this. And I went, hey, give myself a slap, and look who's fighting. He's strictly the B-side G-banger, and CJ Mundine was was definitely the A-side. So when the decision got announced, it was absolutely no surprise from me, mate. The ref. Look, I've watched the replay, Big J, and this is the Bowen and Tonga fight. You're right. She was a little late, but not as late as I thought she was when I watched it live. I was thinking, oh my God, stop the fight. But looking at it on a replay, she was maybe a couple of seconds late, and that's all it takes. I know that. But I thought looking at it, she might have been 4 or 5 seconds too late. It was probably 1 or 2 seconds too late, I'm thinking. Great effort by Jack Bowen too. And you would have seen my review with Jack Bowen and Kira Rustin. Class acts, both of those guys. And definitely role models for the young fighters. So, because he was in a lot of trouble, Jack Bowen. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm not saying she has a lot to answer for, but I would think that after the fight, it might be the powers that be say, hey, you're a couple seconds too late. She just found herself, I think, a fraction, like a step away. So by the time she actually got in there, she was a couple of seconds too late. But yeah, could have been tragedy, mate. But at the end of the day, she got in there and he was okay in the end. What's that, Cal? It's not ping pong, it's boxing. I'm not sure who that's in regards to. Sorry if I've missed that one. What do we got here? All right, explicit. I'll call it explicit. Hey, Lynden, would you ever do a best prospects list? It probably will take longer compared to others on Walking Boxing, but would like to hear it. Oh, it's a good call, mate. I don't know. I mean, there's that many prospects out there. And it's what do you define as a prospect? That's probably the next thing. Is it fighters under 5 or 6 fights? Is it unranked fighters? It's just a hard one, mate. Look, I'll have a look at it. I must admit though, mate, I only take a passing interest in a lot of those up and comers. I used to be all over it when I was younger. I'm more so, it's just time wise, I'm more just focused on the big league, I suppose, rather than checking out too many of the prospects. But I suppose you'd have to have someone like a Kamal Moton top of the list. We'll put our man Cooper O'Connell in there. I don't know, I'm picking a couple, but I'll have a think about it, mate, and see what we can come up with there. James, Wardley needed to jump on Dubois after the first knockdown, but he missed his chance. Yeah, I don't blame him, though, James, for being a little cautious. Dubois can punch. And early in the fight, I don't think that he was hurt. I think it was just a flash knockdown. You see he got up pretty quick. He was nice and composed, got the hands up pretty quick. Yeah, look, I don't think... Well, I agree that Wardley didn't jump on him. I think that would have been, potentially disastrous for him because Dubois is dangerous. And I think if Wardley had went after him, which he maybe could have, he would have been entitled to do. I just think Dubois could have lined him up. So I haven't got a problem with him not going after him, mate. It would have been different if he really wobbled him or he was a little bit unsteady. It was just a shock knockdown, mate. I have no problems with Fabio Wardley just pulling back and taking his time. All right, Glenn, how are you there, mate? Wardley, Justin, hang on. What is that? Justice? Constantly drop his lead hand to his hip all the time. Maybe he doesn't eat every right hand thrown at him. It's a glaring, obvious fault. Yeah, well, he does. He does put that left hand low and he's open to the right hand, especially if you've got someone that can time him and counter him. And Dubois just did all that. I'll add Wardley just isn't conditioned well enough. Yeah, unfortunately, Glenn, I'm not sure he's going to get any better. He's been at the level a few times now, and I know he's still relatively inexperienced, I suppose, but he's had enough fights now that I don't think he's going to get any better. Let's just say that. And especially as far as his conditioning goes, I think some of these guys, just the way they fight and their body types and everything else, and the way, like everything's a big effort. He throws those big right hands and he misses a lot of them as well, which takes it out of you. Just the way he fights. If anything, he needs a trainer to maybe pull him back a little bit, but does that then make him an inferior fighter where that's his strength is coming forward and just throwing bombs? So it's a tough one, mate. I think, if anything, he just needs maybe a coach not to stop the way he fights or change the way he fights, but just maybe make him a little bit more patient. And it might just be a matter of, let's throw a jab or two before we throw the right hand. Something simple as that, because you watch him now, he puts the lead hand out there and holds it there and then just bowls in the right hand. So maybe if he just a little bit more head movement, maybe jabs a little bit more while still coming forward, though. I'm not talking about backing away. Maybe come forward, head movement, set it up with a jab and then throw the right hand. He might just be able to conserve a little bit of energy, because at the moment, it's just big right hand after big right hand. There might be a big left hook in there as well. He doesn't really know how to pace himself. And I just don't think even this stage of his career he'll be able to change that. So I'm not sure conditioning is going to do it. I think it's just fighting smarter is what's going to be needed. So it's up to his team to change a few things there. What's that? Dubois camp keep coming. Oh, hang on. Benavidez, sorry. The camp keep coming with different reasons. The Jai fight isn't happening. In my opinion, he's not ducking him, but I think he'd rather fight Jai later on. It's a risky fight. He may have to take a lot of damage. Yeah, Joe, that's a really good point, mate. That's probably what I was trying to get at earlier. He's definitely not scared of Jai. Let's put that out there. It's a little bit like saying when Tim was world champ, everyone's scared of Tim. No one's scared of Tim, I can assure you. It just comes down to the right fight at the right time for the right money, all that sort of stuff. And look, David would 100% know that Jai is a very, very, very dangerous fight for him. So his thing is, well, yeah, okay, he's on the board, but it just doesn't make sense to fight him now. So he probably wants Jai to continue on fighting, get 2 or 3 more wins under his belt. Maybe Benavidez is also keeping his options open, whether it's to drop down or even go up, or maybe to the side to fight Michelanian, or I doubt he fights Zerto in a rematch. Maybe he hangs around and fights the winner of Riley and Billum Smith for the IBF belt. So maybe there's a few different things going on, but he just doesn't see the need to fight Jai now. But unfortunately, he can't come out and say those reasons. He can't come out and say, we don't want to fight Jai now because we're secretly trying to let him sort of wait so we can target these other belts, or we're just seeing what Usyk wants to do or Bivol wants to do. You can't really say that. So what he's doing is just trying to deflect, I suppose is the word, the attention towards him with coming up with these reasons. But I think fans, we're not stupid. I think if he just came out and said, look, at the moment, it just, yes, I know the fans want it. We would love to fight Jai Opetaia. Let's get that crystal clear. This is all he's got to say. We want to fight Jai Opetaia. It's the best fight in the division. It's one of the best fights in the sport. We want the fight. But at the moment, the whole Zuffa thing's a little bit murky for us. We're not quite sure how it all works and whether or what implications is going to be if we fight Jai. We'd prefer to fight Bivol next, so we're just waiting to see what he wants to do. I mean, just be honest. I think fight fans are going, okay, well, that makes sense. But fight fans can see and smell straight through the bullshit. They can see it a mile away. So for him to sort of try and deflect like he is, I mean, he's making himself look a little silly and he's digging a hole. And I think all he needs to do is come out and say that. Say, look, we're just unsure how this Zuffa thing affects the fight. And we think Bivol is a bigger fight for us at the moment. We want to go back down and unify against him. Then once we get past him, then we can go back and look at what Jai is doing. And that way we'll have a little bit better idea what's happening with Zuffa. Pretty simple stuff. But what he's saying at the moment, I don't think even he believes what he's trying to sort of pass off to us fans at the moment. It just doesn't do him any favours, especially because he's always been this guy. We've been through it with the Canelo saga, consistently bad-mouthing Canelo about, I'm the biggest fight in the division, he won't fight me, and he's ducking me and fighting these other guys. Well, Jai can easily sit there with the rest of us and say, well, you're doing exactly the same thing. So he could easily avoid it. Maybe he just needs a mentor and advisor in his corner saying, hey, we just need to spin this the right way. And maybe be a little bit more honest rather than try and feed the fans out there bullshit. Because as I said, they can smell it a mile away. All right. What do you got there? Oscar, how are you there, mate? Love your work as always. Thank you, mate. How would you build 50 cal from here? He seems very promising. Yeah, look, I thought his fight last week was a great step up for him, Oscar. I thought it was a perfect fight for him. And I know a lot of, I suppose, experts out there were a little bit worried about it. I wasn't worried that he'd beat Callum. I just thought he might just be just a harder fight than what he needs at this time. And look, he was a perfect fight as far as being durable. He was awkward. I don't think he was in any danger of actually beating Callum. But I think he needs more fights like that, Oscar. I think whoever match made, I suppose you'd call it, or put together that fight or advised No Limit that this was a good guy for him, I think I'd be sticking with that matchmaker and saying, hey, we need another 4 or 5 like him. I mean, in Australia, I haven't got the rankings there. There's not really a lot for him. I'd probably like to see him fight Kira Rustin. I think they're around the same weight, aren't they? Or Jack Bowen. They're all great fights, although they might be a little heavy for 50 cal, are they? I'm not sure, but I think that's what they need to do. I think he's already almost outgrown the Australian scene. Actually, I'm going to quickly bring it up. See if I can get another, where are we? ANBF. Men's ratings. All right, just want a quick look and see whether I've missed something here. But I think maybe there might be one sort of biggish fight here for him, and then it's purely going to be internationals there, I reckon, Oscar. What is he, a middleweight or super middleweight? Is he? No, I think he's actually, he's middleweight. Well, there you go. There's the biggest fight that can be made from Dylan Biggs. I mean, that's a massive fight here in Australia. Well, not massive, but massive-ish, if you get what I'm saying. Dylan Biggs, great fight. Dylan Biggs and Callum Peters would be the fight you'd think they could make. Hey, Brock Jarvis is still there at middleweight. Mitch Leake, yeah, okay. Blake Wells would probably be a really good test for him as well. Who else we got there? Even Vorobiev, he seems to fight anybody. I think he'd probably get knocked out by 50 cal, but he's another one. Yeah, so look, there's still some good fights for him in Australia, Oscar. So I would say I'll be targeting definitely the top 2, definitely, Dylan Biggs and Mitch Leake. I'd definitely put those on the table with maybe a fight against someone like a Vorobiev just to keep busy, and maybe a Brock Jarvis if they're looking for a real name. I mean, I think Brock Jarvis is way too small for Callum Peters, but apparently he's fighting at middleweight because he's ranked here. Is he with... No, he's not ranked at 154, so he's ranked at 160. So if that is the case, I'd definitely put Brock Jarvis on the whiteboard, Oscar. So I'd probably earmark 4 to 5 more fights against those guys. Then it's all internationals after that, mate. And I'll be looking to step him up after those fights into a real big fight straight away. I think he's just super talented. Such a great fight. Well, won't say great. The term gets banded around way too much, but just a great potentially fight or fighter for Australia, mate. I think he's capable of winning a world title. I'd still like him to maybe tighten his defense a little bit. I think he still gets hit a little bit too much and doesn't set up his punches enough. But overall, just an unbelievable talent, mate. And I think last week's fight would have really made him grow, that's for sure. All right, explicit rewinding back. Why can't Jai and Benavidez not be made on a ring card like with Connor and Regis? Yeah, good call, explicit. I just think at the moment there's just too many question marks there, mate. I think, as I said, like with Benavidez, I just don't think Jai's on his shortlist. It's as simple as that. There's just too many other options. I mean, he's got those other cruiserweights there who aren't with Zuffa, although Bill Smithy's now, isn't he? So, I don't know, it's a lot of grey areas there. But now that Usyk's maybe, his manager said that they might look Benavidez's way, obviously Bivol, maybe better Bev. I just think Jai's a little bit too far down the pecking order at the moment, explicit. So it's a good call what you're saying there, but I don't know. I just don't know how all this Zuffa thing's going to play out. All right, what else have we got there? Samuel, don't want to take away from Benavidez, but why would Jai not have done that to Zerto? I think he would have, Samuel. I'll call you Sam. 100%. I reckon he would have done the same thing to Zerto. I don't think he would have done it in as devastating fashion. I don't think it would have been those knockdowns and the real brutal punches that Benavidez was hitting Zerto with. But I've just got a feeling that the referee would have stopped that fight in 7 or 8 rounds. The punishment that Jai would have been dishing out to Zerto, I just think the referee would have jumped in and stopped it. I've seen a lot of Zerto's fights, but I just couldn't believe how ordinary Benavidez made him look. I mean, it literally looked like he had concrete boots on and concrete gloves on as well, and he just could not move. And the way that Benavidez had no hesitation. I know they've done a lot of rounds together, but had no hesitation standing toe-to-toe, just out-punched him, out-fought him, out-muscled him, just everything. I just didn't think that would be the case. I did pick Benavidez on points. I didn't think he'd stop Zurdo, but just an unbelievable performance. And I think Jai would have done it as impressively, just not as brutally, I don't think. I think the referee would have stopped it at some point, but I'm not sure he would have had those real knockdowns that he did. But either way, I'm not sure why everyone's just, especially our old mate in the chat there, Big J, who based Benavidez' performance against Zurdo on what he might do with Jai. So, Big J, if you're still in the chat there, mate, I don't see how you could compare the two, but you can take out of it what you will. Jai arguably would have iced him sooner. A lumbering, pumped up 168, slow as hell. He'd be lucky to last 4 rounds. Yeah, maybe, Glenn. As I said, I'll stick to maybe a little bit later, but I still think he would have done it pretty comfortably. Explicit, I doubt this is true, but Connor was supposedly offered a $130 million contract, and if he lost, the offer will go down to $100 million. Lost again, $100 to $60. Wins all his contractual fights, keeps the $130. For Connor, Ben, how many fights is that supposed to be? Explicit? I mean, what is it? 20 fights? I mean, he's not even worth that. I mean, that can't? I don't believe that. But obviously, you've got your information from somewhere. But that $130 million, again, is it 10 fights, 8 fights? Jeez, not worth a cracker if you ask me. Explicit, I think he's worth about $1 million a fight. That's probably about it. All right, Shadowboxer. Very surprised to hear you and Glenn say Benavidez is a good chance against Usyk. Usyk's angles, motor, and IQ will befuddle Benavidez, and he's faced behemoths and won. Yeah, no, you're right, Shadowboxer. Look, and you might be 100% correct. I don't know. Look, I just think it's a gut feel. That's all it is. I won't even try and explain myself. It's a gut feel. Call it the vibe. That's all it is. I just think that I don't think Usyk, he has sort of muscled up into the division, hasn't he? Again, a gut feel, mate. I just think Benavidez would go with Usyk. I didn't say he'd beat Usyk. I just think he'd be okay. He'd be a chance against Usyk. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to stick with Usyk. But I think Benavidez would put up a pretty good fight. Here's me backtracking 100 miles an hour. All right, Jai beats Benavidez, in my opinion, says Shadowboxer. People need to pump the brakes on a win over friggin' Zurdo or Morale. Yeah, well, the Morale win suddenly doesn't look as good, does it, Shadowboxer? Well, Glenn doesn't. Oh, it must have been this Glenn, because he says Usyk murders him. Seriously, who was Benavidez beaten? And he spent most of his career as a weight bully. Pump the brakes, everyone. Yeah, no, you're right, Glenn. And this is why I said straight away with Benavidez after Zurdo with Jai, how can you even compare fighting Zurdo to fighting Jai Opetaia? Just two completely different fighters, 180 degrees different. But it was impressive. It was impressive. What's that, Daniel? Can you give us a look at all the memorabilia in your studio? Well, there's not much, mate. It's pretty much about it. Is all you see there. This is the magic of a studio, I suppose. I've got most of my stuff out in the gym. Where is it? This one here is the first fight I went to in Las Vegas. That is Ricky Hatton and Manny Pacquiao. That's why it's up there. What do we got? And these ones are gloves that I've got. These are the fights that I've been to over the journey. Well, not that, just the Mayweather and Pacquiao ones. But every fight that I'd go to, I'd get the poster, a ticket, and the the gloves in a frame. So my gym's full of them. There's about 20 of them out there, but this is about it here, mate. What else have we got up here? There's my little bear with a boxing deep dive shirt on. So that's about it there, Daniel. Maybe I think I did a tour of my gym not long ago with all my memorabilia in there. All right, what else have we got here? Glenn, hang on. What's that? AJ versus Tyson may be promoted by Zuffa. I don't think it's going to be promoted by Zuffa, Samuel. They're not obviously Zuffa fighters, and there's no way in hell Eddie Hearn would ever let Anthony Joshua go to Zuffa, and Frank Warren would never let Tyson Fury go to Zuffa. But what I think you would have seen last week with Dana White saying that he could be the lead promoter, I think it would be a lot like what happened last year with Canelo and Crawford, where It's a Ring magazine event. Turki Al-Sheikh obviously decides who's doing what. He put Dana White in charge of the fight last year with Connelly and Crawford as the lead promoter. That's what he's sort of getting at. So it won't be a Zuffa event. It won't be for any Zuffa belts. It'll be for the Ring Fight of Britain belt or whatever the hell they called it. And it'll be Dana White will be pushed up as the man. Although having said that, that was before Zuffa was actually launched, wasn't it? So maybe he was just trying to get him introduced to boxing. I don't know. But there's no way it'll be Zuffa, Samuel, or it'll be a Ring event, and maybe they'll get Dana White to do. I'd just love to see the conversations with Turki Al-Sheikh, with Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn saying, all right, boys, we're going to use both your fighters. I'm going to put up the money for it, but Dana White's going to promote it. Oof, geez, you can imagine that with Eddie Hearn. Frank Warren would probably, well, as long as I get paid, he probably wouldn't care too much, but Eddie Hearn would definitely take it personally. I'm not sure that'd go down too well. But, yeah, as I said, mate, if he does promote it, Dana White, that is, it won't be Zuffa. All right. Not a fan of the WBC silver or intercontinental and so on belts. This is explicit. Instead of the belts, I'd prefer medals so the casual watchers won't get mixed up with all the titles. Yeah, I'm just sick of the belts, explicit. And the thing I hate even more than the belts themselves, it's when you get a lot of the ring announcers will announce those belts. Or, in the case of our man here in Australia, Dan Hennessy, who will say he's a former belt holder. So, for instance, he'll say, and the former WBC Silver East-West Intercontinental Regional or Interim, brown paper bag champion, whatever it is, and he'll rattle off 6 regional belts that the guys had. Dan, just go with what they've actually they're holding at the moment, mate. Some of these ring announcers go on way too much. Don't get me going on that one. But to say someone's a former WBC Silver Intercontinental Interim East-West Gold Champion, I mean, come on. Just say what belts they hold now, if they're any importance, and just move on. I'm with you there, though, explicit. Maybe don't give them belts. Yeah, and that's maybe something the WBC and all the sanctioning bodies could do, is to give them some sort of, like you said there, a medal or something along the lines that recognises they are some sort of, whether it be interim champion or a in recess champion or a silver champion or whatever it might be. But don't give them the proper belt. This is what gets me. They give them an interim belt and it's the proper belt. I just think there should be a difference. There should be WBC. I'm sort of talking about here, but the split it out. The actual WBC proper belt, and anything else. If it's an interim belt, maybe it's a different color or it's smaller or whatever, or better yet, a medal or something. But not a fully fledged belt. Save that for the champion. And maybe that's a way to differentiate some of these bullshit titles that we keep getting. I mean, I remember when I was promoting 10 years ago, and the WBA really took an interest in Australia as far as the Oceania goes. So they had these Oceania belts, and every man and his dog was winning Oceania belts. And they look like proper WBA belts. So you got these guys who have just won this WBA East-West Intercontinental, gold interim championship, and they've got their proper WBA belts. I just, it's ridiculous. So maybe it's a good call there, explicit. Maybe as medals or some other type of belt rather than the proper belts. Glenn Morrell just didn't move up to light heavyweight. He's a 168 pounder. He's a pretty big boy though, Glenn. He's a decent size. I don't think he could make 168 again, but yeah, who knows what's going to happen going forward, because he dropped the ball big time yesterday, didn't he? What do we got here? All right. Glenn, on a different note, Allen versus Hrgovic on this weekend. I think it ends bad for Dave. Is that on this weekend? All right, beautiful. I didn't know that. I knew they'd signed the fight, but I didn't know when. So good stuff. I'm with you there, Glenn. I think Hrgovic will be a little bit too much for Allen to handle, I would think. All right, Batman. Manchester crowd is also crazy, unmatched. Yeah, well, I want to get over there at some stage, mate. That's for sure. Geez, I'm a bit behind you, aren't I? Samson has a good eye for talent. Yeah, he certainly does, mate. Certainly does. This is in regards to Cooper O'Connell. All right, so Glenn asks how Canelo versus Billy's going to go, and Batman says Glenn slightly edge Canelo, but hard to say as Canelo is finished, but Billy is very hittable, but also has great stamina. Good fight. Canelo should probably call it a day, though, regardless of result. I'm with you, Batman. I've got a slight edge towards Canelo, but this fight is all wrong, if you ask me, for at this stage of Canelo's career. To have someone like Mbili, who, while he's hittable, as you say there, is a guy that sits on your chest and just does not stop throwing punches and will not stop the entire fight. Now, maybe actually that might work in the Canelo's hands a little bit more. He doesn't have to sort of go looking for his opponent. He can sort of use his boxing IQ and his defense and technique and overall ability sort of superiority, I suppose, over Mbili. But on the other side, yeah, to have someone on your chest for 12 rounds when you're 34, 35 years of age, who knows? But, maybe Mbili out-muscles him and beats him on points. But should be a good fight. But I just think the other champions might have been a little bit better option for him. I'm just looking at who the other champion at the moment because so that's going on. So, yeah, so Glacis, yeah, probably another Williams school, basically. Munguia has already been there as a stablemate. And Billy, and then you got the vacant belt. So Shiraz is fighting. He's fighting Bejic, I think it is, isn't it? So I would think that if Canelo gets over the top of Mbili, then Shiraz will be next after that. You'd probably think. Hearns, what do you got there, mate? Hi, I think the Morel loss throws shade on Benavidez. Morel actually dropped him. Yeah, yep. It suddenly makes that loss look a lot less honourable, doesn't it, Hearns? All right, Batman. Prime Canelo would have beat him easy, but it's long past that time. Still, he might have too much quality for Mbili, who could also be damaged after the Martinez fight. He took like 500 punches. Yeah, that was a tough fight. That was probably the only, apart from the main event, the only good fight on the card that night, Batman. But yeah, it's a tough one for Canelo. I'm with you. Prime Canelo would handle him easy. But we've got a guy in Canelo at the moment, a fighter who, well, he doesn't really or can't really fight 3 minutes of every round. Not that his work rate's always been super Canelo. It's more so about punch placement rather than volume. But you get the impression now that his timing's slightly gone. It's just, look, maybe Terence Crawford just made him look a lot more washed than maybe he is, and maybe Billy's going to be the type of opponent who will maybe bring out a little bit of the old Canelo. We'll see. All right. Glenn, Canelo hates volume, has for years. Yep. I'm just going through these comments here. You guys have talking to yourself. Wardley is a warrior. Insane level of heart. Hard to say if he will be the same after that. I doubt it, Batman, but let's hope so. Batman says, Canelo handled Munguia quite well. Still took a lot of punches, though, and time waits for no man. Style-wise, I would have preferred Munguia versus Mbili for the action. Yeah, I thought Munguia fought really well the other week, Batman. I thought he fought a lot better fight than he has in the past. I think he's never been the smartest fighter. He tends to get engaged in sort of shootouts a little bit too much, but I thought he boxed really well and looked a lot better than, maybe it's under Eddie Renee, so maybe he's done the job with him. But yeah, I thought he looked really good, and that would be a good fight with Mbili, that's for sure. Glenn says, in regards to Wardley, seriously, I don't think anyone can come back 100% after a beating like that. Should have been pulled 3 rounds earlier. Yes, we've discussed that. What does Zuffa even mean? I think it doesn't mean war, or I'm sure someone's put it in the chat there. I think it means war or something like that, or battle or something, I don't know. Adam, Wardley has fought the same for a while now. Dubois was able to slip his punches after the 3rd round. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we all saw in the Joseph Parker and Justice Huni fights that Wardley's not the most technical guy and can fall down in a lot of areas. Very, very limited, but he's obviously gotten through with the power and resistance and heart and all the rest of it. But he just fought a fighter in Dubois who was obviously prepared, had been through a lot of those types of situations in the past, and fought a smart fight. So I think Wardley, he'll struggle to get back to the top, I would think. I think now that he got given the WBO belt, didn't he? I think Dubois has exposed a lot of his deficiencies, and I wouldn't be surprised if he fought some of those other big, those top heavyweight guys that a similar thing had happened. All right, Drew, people keep saying who was Benavidez beat, but I would say Plant, Andrade, Gvozdyk, Yard, and Zerdo. Pretty good solid names. I don't subscribe to a weight bully narrative. You still need to make the weight. I'm with you with that, Drew. I must admit, I've never really sort of been part of the whole weight bully narrative sort of thing. I mean, you make the weight, you make the weight. It is what it is. It's not their fault that they're able to make the weight, and some others make it easy and they struggle, but consistently make it. Yeah, I've got no dramas with it. But yeah, both of those points you make there have merit. Same as Plant, Andrei Gvozdik, Yard, and Zerdo. Solid-ish names. Probably the best he could afford at the time. And you put Morel in there as well. Yeah, Glenn, yep. Talking Munguia, he was excellent the other week, that's for sure. All right, we've got a bit of debate there with Benavidez' resume. Hardly stellar names, and he defines weight bully. Again, though, Glenn, you either make the weight or you don't. Batman says he was the best he's looked in terms of showing about a bit of everything. His defense was much better, and his hand speed and volume and power looks superb. Yes. Adam says Benavidez has beaten some good opponents, but the eye test tells you he's a beast. Well, that's why I want to see me again in against Opetaia, Adam, because he's going to be in with one hell of a beast when he comes up against Jai. All right. So, Batman, you'd like to see Munguia Hamza. Shiraz, that is. Yeah, good fight. Yep, that would be a good fight. All right, Adam, I think Nikita Tszyu should get recognition at 154 soon. He's only fought 12 fights, but he's undefeated. And like 6 guys haven't fought since they fought him. He'd be putting guys into retirement. Yeah, I'm really still on the fence about Nikita, Adam. He looked really good last week, and I've got no doubt he would have stopped Michael Zarafa if they had continued. I will stand by that. I saw enough even in 2 rounds to think that he would have stopped Michael. And made last week look easy, didn't he? It's going to be interesting when he comes up against some of those sort of outliers of the 154-pound division internationally, though. I mean, I thought his defense has improved so much. Barely got hit last week. I know Diaz wasn't exactly a stellar opponent, but still undefeated. Was he undefeated? Yeah, 21-0, whatever he was, 20-0. Yeah, I mean, not obviously world class, but still a good scalp to get. So it's still a little bit of an enigma for me, Adam, but I'm liking what I'm seeing at the moment with Nikita, and I think that yeah, he'll be okay. He'll be okay. As long as they match him properly. I don't want to see him in there with killers just yet. If he gets hit, he's going to stay hit. I want him to fight some boxers and guys that maybe aren't big punches, so if he does get beat, he's not going to get knocked around. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Nikita so far. I think he's improved so much. Everything about him, his poise, his composure, his patience, his shots, his selection, defense, all that sort of stuff. I think he's improved a lot to the point where I think he's pretty much on a par with his brother at the moment, and maybe might go past him down the track. We'll see. Glenn says probably the pick of the 168-pounders right now. That is... Oh, Shiraz, is it? I thought Shiraz would win that easy, but be closer than that. Or is that Munguia? Either way. Sorry, I didn't get that correct there. All right. Richard, I still think David Nyika can have a good run at it to you. I'm skeptical, Richard. I'm skeptical. I'm not sure whether he can, mate. Look, he's a super talent. That Jai fight would have taken a lot out of him. I know he's had a fight since then, hasn't he? No, I don't think so. We're not. When you say have a run at it, is he good enough to fight for and win a world title? No, I don't think so. He could probably be in the mix. What is he at the moment? He's ranked number 5 with the IBF, not ranked with the WBA or the WBC, and he's ranked number 8 with the WBO. So, yeah, he can have a run at it to an extent. He can have a run as far as being in the mix again, and who knows, he might land a shot against one of those guys. Is he good enough to win a world title? I don't think so. I don't think so. Go pound for pound, King. How are you, mate? Nice profile picture you got there. Batman, it was incredible. The holiday was amazing. This is the Japanese trip. It was a sight to behold, to witness that high-level fight between samurais. Japan was unbelievable. I'll definitely go back for a big fight as soon as. Yeah, that'd be awesome, mate. I think I said last week or the week before, I'd love to get over there for Andrew Maloney's fight with Willibordo Garcia. My son is itching to get back over to Japan, so it would have been a good reason to go, but just a bit busy, with work at the moment. All right. The atmosphere in the Tokyo Dome was insane. Such a special event. Loved every moment of it. Yeah, that would have been awesome, mate. And great fight too. Great fight. One of the favourite events I've been to anywhere in the world. Yep. All right. Agreed. The version of Boachuk would have given Mosley Jr. a beating. He's clearly slowed dramatically in the last year or so. And that's how it happens, Batman. That's how it can happen. Just overnight. And a guy that you could probably beat easy one day, the next day he might have the wood on you just simply by just aging overnight. Boachuk looked like that to me. Just like it looked like he'd aged. Punch resistance sort of gone a little bit. He looked. I don't know whether he looked slow. I don't know. He just looked off right from the word go. And I would have, leading into the fight, I thought Boachuk would beat Mosley pretty comfortably. But that's how it happens, just overnight. Nikita could beat Mosley today. Yeah, I think he'd be a good chance, Batman. I'm sure that someone... Oh, yeah, Glenn agrees. There you go. I thought you might be the one that pushes back, but I'd agree with that. All right, Jason. I'd love to see Ramirez call out Opetaia for the ring cruiserweight title and Jai deny him the opportunity. Or KO him, either one or the two. Yeah, well, I don't think Jai really cared. Well, it would be for the ring belt, but it's a good thing. A few people have actually mentioned that to me or sent me messages or whatever about it when I've said about the whole Zuffa and the sanctioning body thing about what about the ring magazine belt? How does that work? Well, that's sort of exempt from all the other rules and regulations, isn't it? Because it doesn't really have rules and regulations apart from it's 1 versus 2. But the fact that Turki Al-Sheikh owns the ring and is obviously in with Zuffa, maybe it could happen. Yeah, it could be, doesn't really matter what belts it's for. If it was for the WBA, WBO, and Ring Magazine belts, would that be enough to get Ramirez in the ring with Jai Opetaia? I'm sure Jai's hoping so. What do you think of Julian Rodriguez? I think he deserves a big fight. Was he the one that fought today there, Adam? Hang on. Where's BoxRec? I don't mean to be smart, but there's a lot of Rodriguez's that are fighting out there at the moment, and I tend to get them a little bit mixed up with each other. If it was the one that fought today, he was okay. Okay, let's have a look. Julian Rodriguez. Let's have a quick look. Active. All right, let's see what comes up. There's a lot of Julian Rodriguez's, mate. Hang on. Is it Hammerhands? Is that the one we're talking about? Yes, he's the one that fought today, I think. Yes, it was today. Sorry, I'm just looking at his record there. What is he? He's 26-1 now, I suppose. I'm assuming he's not ranked by the organisations, though. What weight is he? Sorry, guys. Welterweight. Yeah, 147. All right, let's have a quick look. Take up a bit of time here. So, welterweight. All right, he's probably not ranked, or is he? I suppose if Jai's ranked, he could be ranked. So, he's not ranked with the IBF. He is ranked number 8 with the WBA. I think he'd give Rolly Ramiro a good fight, I think. Not ranked with the WBC. And the WBO, is he in there? No, he's not. Yeah, he probably deserves a big fight, Adam. But again, does the Zuffa thing sort of derail him? Who knows? All right, Danny. Zuffa are desperate for stars. Mosley Jr. is not that good. Zarafa of a couple of years ago would have beaten him. Yeah, I'm still not sold on him, Danny. But I think, Mosley Jr. and Zarafa at this stage would be a really good fight. And I reckon Mike would love that fight coming up against the son. Well, he's going to possibly do it with Eubank, but the son of another legend in Shane Mosley Jr. And Shane Mosley's obviously a bigger legend than what Chris Eubank Jr. is, I suppose, worldwide. Maybe not in the UK, but good fight. Good fight. Batman, they left him in too long, but due to being known for brutal finishes and comebacks that combine with Dubois' perceived lack of heart. Yeah, that's the Wardley fight. Usyk has cleaned out 2 divisions, legend status activated. Yeah, but he's going to divide a lot of people over the journey, Richard, especially at heavyweight. I still think I'd still have Evander Holyfield as the #1 cruiserweight of all time. In the heavyweights, I'm not sure Usyk makes the top 10, or does he? I mean, geez, he's only had about 6 fights at the weight. So how do you do that? How do you rate him? Yeah, I'm not sure. I suppose it's going to be open to everyone's interpretation, I suppose. Oh, there you go. Zuffa is an Italian word meaning fight, brawl, or scuffle. Still a stupid name, Jason. Adam says Usyk should fight Cabial and nothing but Cabial. You're right, Adam, but when does that matter? When does it matter that you should fight such and such an opponent? It's never mattered. It comes down to, as they say, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. So you think that Usyk's got Verhoeven, he's got possibly Fury, Joshua, Dubois, Otama, Wilder. There's a lot of people in front of Cabial, mate. So I think Cabial's going to probably have to wait until Usyk's gone, I would think. Yep, and Tony agrees, says you're spot on. Yep, and he has agreed. Has earned his shot. Agreed, yes. Shadow Boxer says, one thing for sure, we do not need Usyk Dubois 3. Yeah, that'd be a tough sell, Shadow Box. I'm not sure they could get behind that, which is probably why Stan Dubois, Daniel's dad, has said, no, well, look, we're not that stressed about an Usyk trilogy. Dubois got plenty of options as well. So, he's got Moses Otama as probably the most logical one, and I've got a feeling that fight might get made. Wardley rematch is definitely there, although I think I'd put Otama ahead of that, but I still think maybe someone like a Wilder or possibly a Fury could be in his sights down the track. Yeah, so even Dubois' dad said post-fight they aren't chasing Usyk. Yeah, Shane, good fight, Adam. Shane Mosley Jr. should fight Fernando Vargas. Sorry, Shane Mosley Jr. should fight Fernando Vargas Jr. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Oh, Tony, what are your thoughts on Max Kellerman? I find him, I find him to really dig his own voice, and he's very happy how knowledgeable he thinks he is, loves those stats. I can't stand him, Tony. And I was always a real fan of Max Kellerman when he was with HBO. Used to love watching him, and when he was on ESPN, who's the other guy is it First Take, whatever it's called, on ESPN. Thought he was really good. Since he's gone to Zuffa, you can tell he's just a suckhole. He really is. That's the best word I can have to describe him. Just an absolute suckhole. Just the ultimate guy who goes up there and just carries the company line. I mean, just goes on about how great Zuffa is and this and that. I can't stand him, Tony. I've got to turn it off when he's on now. I watch the Zone occasionally with they have the talk show on there that he's on. Oh my God, fair dinkum. Yeah, Glenn. Yeah, was good, but needs to. Yes, I agree. Needs to go. Yep, Shadow Boxer agrees. Used to like Max years ago. He's insufferable now. Complete sellout. Yeah, that's the best word for him, Shadow Boxer. Just a complete sellout. He is. Just makes me sick. Yes, Glenn says he's nauseating. Yep. Adam, Benavidez is too small for the major players at heavyweight. I like Turkey, but automatically putting Benavidez senior heavyweight ain't right. Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. Yeah, no, I don't think Benavidez deserves a shot at Usyk now, even if he wanted to fight him or Turkey wants to fight. No. Benavidez should be Bivol or Opetaia or maybe Michelanian next or whatever, one of those guys. Possibly, obviously, Jai. But, yeah, Usyk, I don't think that fight will ever happen. What's that? When was the last time you had a spar, Lynden? Geez, a long time ago, Shadow Boxer. A long time ago, mate. Actually, no, I sparred with my son last year. There you go. I do a bit of work with him in the gym, and he wanted to have a spar. And it's a little bit. It's pretty funny having a spar with your kid. It's one thing when they're about sort of this big, and you have a muck. When they're, well, my son's 6'2", I think, and I'm about 5'8". So it was a little bit of an experience, but no, it was good. It was good. Just a bit of fun. Nothing serious. All right, Big J, the way Zuffa is spending money, me and the chump can get a decent payday. Tell you what, though, if they ever want a set of brothers to fight, me and my brother will punch on for some cash. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would do that. Tony, if I had a time machine, I'd love to be ringside. 1979, Ernie Shavers versus Ken Norton. The atmosphere would have been electric, and those punches would have felt 28 rows back. Ernie was a monster puncher. I would have liked to have seen Joe Fraser against either one of those guys, I reckon, Tony. That is a great matchup, by the way. But those three, I'd probably like to see Kenny Norton and Joe Fraser. Ernie Shavers is the bigger puncher out of all three. But Kenny Norton and Joe Fraser, for me, is the big fight at heavyweight that never happened. That would have been great. Ryan says, come on, guys. Usyk beats everyone currently. Father Time is the only thing that beats Usyk, and that ain't happening. Usyk retires before then. Too smart. Yep, good call, Ryan. Tony, been saying this for years. Best ring announcer is right here in Australia. Say hello to Stephen Pios. Yeah, he's the man, Tony. He's a fantastic ring announcer, mate. Stephen, just don't get caught up in the whole overseas stuff too much. Be yourself. Do your thing. You're a great ring announcer as you are. Don't think you got to compete with a lot of those guys overseas. Because look, Jimmy Lennon's okay, but he says introducing about 6 times. So introducing him and introducing in his speech, instead of just saying introducing once, and you only got to introduce someone once, but he says introducing about 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Then you got Michael Buffer. I've got a feeling is going a little bit down the senile route. I think he forgets what he's talking about sometimes and can't spit the words out properly. Room for a big dog out there, Tony, on the big scene, and maybe Stephen Pios is the man. He's a great guy too, Stephen, so all the best to him. Dana talks a load of rubbish. He calls out Eddie Hearn for a fight, then backs out when Eddie calls his bluff. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Dana White. I love him. Well, don't love him, but I admire what he's done with UFC. I admire his bravado, his business sense, whatever. It's easy to have business sense when you got unlimited money, though, don't you think? I think we could all run a pretty good organisation if we had unlimited money. But anyway, yeah, I'm as a person not a big fan, Danny. Sean, let's replace Lieutenant Dan with Little Ring Rick. Little Ring Rick, eh? I told you on my video the other day, it's the only reason why I think they've created this heavyweight ring belt for Fury and Joshua, just so Little Ring Rick can get his little head in there. All right, Mr. Gentleman, sir, what do you got there, mate? Big week in boxing. What we seem to miss with Zuffa, just like Uber disrupted the taxi industry, Zuffa, so it is as an opportunity for the taking. He had extreme political pull. Yeah, it's a good point, though, Mr. Gentleman, in that Uber saw where the taxi industry were falling down and jumped in there and filled a void. I think it's a good analogy with Zuffa. But again, as I said earlier, I just don't think Zuffa and Dana White counted on all the existing participants banding together to make themselves stronger to keep him out. So he's got a bit of work to do. I'm trying to read what you're saying there, Trump. I can't. Who is your top? Is that rated Australian fighter that hasn't fought for a title? Probably Connor Wallace, I suppose, if you want to count him as an Aussie. Just trying to think. Nikita Tszyu, I suppose, is another one. All right, we've got a couple of minutes to go. We've got a couple of comments to go through there. Is Zuffa like a roofer? Yeah, well, maybe. Yes, Richard, you're right. Beck Rawlings is a Rodriguez now too. Yep. Is it Adrian Rodriguez? All right, hang on. What have we got there? Sorry, I've got a couple of comments there. Sorry, from Mr. Gentleman. All right. Raheem Mundine. I'm keen to get behind him, although this generation's are so far up their ass from the technical experience. Is he a real prospect or not? Nah, I don't think so, mate. Nah. Look, he's got he's got a lot of, I suppose, natural ability. You can see, obviously, he's a Mundine. Fighters, young prospects, even though they have a lot to learn and a lot to develop, don't struggle with guys like the G-Banger and win disputed decisions against, even if it's their third fight. They're the type of guys, the G-Bangers of the world are the ones you get the first and second round knockouts to really build your record. You shouldn't be struggling. I think No Limit would have had a heart attack watching that fight thinking, geez, there goes this mundane investment. Yeah, look, it might be early. Maybe you'll learn from it. I didn't see much though, Mr. Gentleman. I just think that, as I said, guys like G Banger are bought in to fight mundane and last 1 or 2 rounds, or be dominated for 4 or 5 rounds, whatever it was, as ladders up on the journey to the top. Yeah, and guys like him aren't supposed to lose disputed decisions to young prospects. So no. Tim Tszyu, too late to turn it around technically. Old man is a boxer and believes he's capped. Sure, it's now all about squeezing all the juice to maximise what fights he gets next. Well, your old man knows what he's talking about there, mate, because he's right. I'm with you. It's not too late to turn it all around technically, but no drastic changes. Just a few little subtle, little sort of bits and pieces here or there that Jeff looks like he's doing, but don't try and reinvent the wheel, which is why I think they've speared Pedro Diaz. I think maybe he was trying to change Tim up too much, and maybe Tim was just struggling to get his head around it and the way he was trying to get him to fight in the amateur style, all the rest of it. Where Jeff Fennick's come in and said, Tim, forget that shit, mate. Let's go. Let's knuckle on. Let's get it on. I think that's sort of what Tim needs more of, being smart about it though, and I think Jeff will implement that as well. Yeah, no, I think it's a good move. So is he? I don't think he can turn it all around technically, there, mate. But I think he can do alter a couple of things. I think Tim and improve in a couple of little sort of minor areas. But I think that's about it as far as improving as a fighter, if that makes sense. And you're right, squeeze the juice out to maximise what he gets. Yes, he's 100% right. Is Mike Altamura and Tim Tszyu on good terms, or has there been a fallout? Well, I spoke to Mike Altamura the day after it happened there, Dan, and I don't know. It was all obviously very, very raw then, and Mike was still probably in a little bit of shock and probably still a little bit angry, I suppose, and a little bit confused, but I don't know where it's at the moment, mate. That's all I can probably say. Yeah, Mike, yeah, as I said there, mate. No, I haven't spoken to him since after the first day, and I'm sure he'll do what he's got to do. What's that there? Michael Jackson, seen the latest Sharks rescind their view on him and seeking 200 odd mil. Talk about timing with the movie and all that. Yeah, I was just talking to my wife about this earlier, mate. I read about it today in the paper. Unbelievable, isn't it? This family that stood by him and strenuously denied any of that stuff going on and defending him and saying it was all bullshit, have now suddenly, 2 weeks after the movies come out, suddenly said they were lying, and now it did happen, and now they want the $200 million. Fair income there, mate. Some people, they do your head in. Just on the Michael Jackson thing, I didn't mention it last week. I did mention I'd seen it the morning after. I was thinking the band that I know I'm well over time here, by the way, but the band or artist or whatever it might be that just drastically deserves a movie, is that the word? Or who 100% deserves a movie or series or something is AC/DC. I just cannot believe there's been no series or movies or anything about AC/DC. My opinion, I think that, and I'm not trying to get a discussion going here, guys. I'm just saying, in my opinion, they are the greatest rock band or greatest band of all time. 53 or 54 years, whatever, in the industry. Just still, well, I won't say they're going strong, but they're still going all the ups and downs through their careers, and obviously the storylines with Bon Scott and Brian Johnson and their upbringing in Australia, from little clubs in little towns to 80,000, 90,000 seat arenas, and the amount of albums and hit songs and the whole what they've managed to achieve. How the hell can AC/DC not have a series or movie made about them? I don't want to get off topic here, but geez, In Excess got a series here in Australia, and AC/DC didn't. I mean, come on. Anyway, we'll move on. A couple more to go. PEDs in boxing, does it make a difference? Is Zuffa run boxing like UFC? Everyone will be juiced up to the gills. Bring it. Oh, I doubt it, mate. I think they've got a pretty stringent drug testing system in boxing, mate. I don't think it makes any difference. You can't be big and strong in boxing. I don't think it helps at all. Where in PEDs in like MMA, it's wrestling and kicking and all that sort of stuff, I suppose, and jiu-jitsu and judo, that obviously helps to be a lot stronger. In boxing, I think it has the opposite effect. You don't want to be sort of too top heavy. and I don't think it helps you at all. All right, I think what's that there, Shadowboxer? How's your son go with the boxing? He moves all right. Yeah, he's all right. Look, he hasn't had a lot of experience, though, mate. He has a bit of a crack, but he's got a bit of natural ability, but he's not interested in being a fighter and all that, mate. He just likes to do it. My younger son couldn't give a shit. He's more he loves his basketball and watching UFC. Doesn't watch boxing at all, to be honest. So just different kids. All right, Mike Zambitis, did you do your homework? Watch his fights as yet? No, mate. Sorry. I know now that the fight's actually been officially announced. I promise I'll watch it and let you know next week how we go then. What I think of him. Yes, Glenn, great call on ACDC. Thank you. I was just thinking about it after the Michael movie. How great, and go see it, by the way. It's awesome. There'll be a sequel, by the way. It's just called Jackson, apparently. So you got Michael Jackson, 2 different movies. But I'm just thinking AC, whether they're your favourite band or not, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if any band in the history of music deserves a movie or series made about him, it is AC/DC. What a story. But anyway, all right, last comment there. Also, I almost forgot Canelo sucks. That's from Glenn. So we'll go out on that. And thanks, Sean. Great show there. Thank you, mate. And hope to see you all again next week. So, guys, have an awesome week. Now, Wednesday, I haven't 100% confirmed it yet because I'm not sure whether I have to work or not. Keep a lookout on the YouTube sort of thing that comes up. It's a notification, whatever it is, to say that we're going live with the thumbnail thing. So hopefully on Wednesday night, if you want to come on, we'll do a second night of talking boxing. Won't be 2 hours. It might be an hour and a half, something like that. But you guys get to come on, and we'll also have guests on as well. So we'll see how we go. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Have an awesome rest of your week, and we'll catch you maybe Wednesday. But if not, we'll catch you next Monday on Talking Boxing. Thanks, guys.